telling the guys, like, these are the moments we live for here.
I know for a fact we're better skilled guys in every category.
Hello, welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. Tonight is D1R 216, an incredible weekend of football, a big-time small school Saturday show from the D1 Rejects crew down at Bethel over there in Arden Hills, St. Paul area, Minnesota. Third show of the year. Gaining a little bit of traction. I think we're going to have maybe 6 shows this regular season if things pan out as I'm hoping here. At least 5, potentially 6 shows this regular season. So really hope you guys are enjoying that content. But tonight, we got a great set of games to recap. 2 awesome guests joining us tonight. We've got Kareem Roberts from Florida Memorial. We'll talk to him later. The NAIA team that just picked up the Lions. Their first win over a ranked program in the team's history. That's an incredible one. They beat Southeastern down there in Florida. And then first thing to start the show tonight, Rich Lucero Jr. from Augustana, the freshman quarterback for the Vikings who thought he was going to redshirt in 2025. That is until the star quarterback for the Vikings, Gunnar Hensley, he hurt his leg and in the fourth quarter of last week's game might be out for the season. Lucero gets his number called, leads Augustana to a 1-point rivalry victory, fourth quarter comeback when his name was called. Really incredible story. Loved talking with him. We'll talk a lot about Augie and the Vikings today. Otherwise, in Division II, we had some rivalry games like that one that lived up to the hype. We also had 2 ridiculous upsets inside of the PSAC, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. Gannon, Seton Hill, both taking down top 15, top 10 type opponents in the conference. Did not expect that one at all, to be very honest with you, but we're going to talk all about it. In Division III, we were spoiled. We had a ton of top 25 games, some games with really top caliber talent. Of course, one of the games we were at in person, but many others across the country. We also have the 2nd annual Breakfast Bowl, one of the cooler, unique rivalries in all of college football, let alone Division III football, with one of the coolest trophies to boot, so stick around with that one. And then in the NAIA, we have the day and the weekend of broken streaks. Some teams that have gone out and changed history or really proved some people wrong and beat some teams or broken some streaks that have been standing for a very long time. So thank you very much for tuning in to D1R 216. Hopefully you have appreciated the content this season. But let's start things off talking to the signal caller from Augustana. Joining the show, this man just led the Augustana Vikings on a 19-point fourth quarter comeback, keep the perfect season alive, key to the city rivalry game. Incredible debut under center, quarterback Rich Lucero Jr. What's going on, brother? Excited to get you on here.
What's up? Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited for this opportunity.
Was pumped to talk about this game on the show on Saturday. Little did I know it'd turn out to be a fantastic one. Very much in part to you, man. What a way to introduce yourself to the NSIC and D2 football as a whole, man.
Yeah, it was great. A great opportunity provided for me by my coaches, and I just want to thank my coaches and teammates for believing in me to step in that role. And all I had to do was do my job with the line that we have and the guys I have around me. I don't have to be Superman. All I have to do is do my job, and that's really the beauty of it.
Yeah, and you know what? That might have been your first start under center for Augie, but you sound like a veteran, a seasoned quarterback, media trained and all. All the quarterbacks say that. They deflect, they give to the guys. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go on a limb and say that they would all say thank you for coming out and balling in your first start and picking those guys up and helping them to a win. And obviously, it goes both ways. Was that on your bingo card to start the true freshman season about halfway through the year here?
It's always my goal to be ready whenever my number is called. And
sure.
So even though I haven't been playing, and my plan was to redshirt this season.
Okay.
But even though I haven't been playing, I still staying ready, staying in the playbook, and just want to make sure that if my team ever would need me and my coaches called my number, that I'd be able to come through. So that was the biggest thing was, just staying ready. We never know what can happen. It's obviously a very physical sport, and
sure.
And that's about it, really.
Yeah, man, 100%. How much of a heads up did you get that you would be getting the start on Saturday?
It was kind of just like a feel thing. Kind of go see how the week went for practice, and I would say a few days, a couple days in advance for the for sure nod, but. Really, it it was you know, I got to show my coaches and my team that I could operate and that type of stuff in practice. So.
Yeah, and you got a guy in front of you in Gunnar Hensley that, of course, got to talk about, one of the best in the conference. What were you able to learn from him in those first 5 weeks, and how has he still been? It's not like he just vanished and rode off into the sunset. How has he still been a part of your development process now, maybe a little bit of a different capacity, helping you to get acclimated here?
Yeah, so I mean, ever since I got here, I moved up here in July, and just got to work right away. And Gunner's always been there for me, and always helping me with. First off, honestly, just getting used to the college life. This is
Sure.
I'm 1,000 miles from home, from Chandler, Arizona, and him helping me, transform my life in that aspect, and then showing me how to lead this team and be a quarterback for one of the top teams in the NSIC. Him leading by example, and me just watching him and taking all the notes I can, because obviously he's a great quarterback and a great leader on our team. And even though that he is injured now, he still shows up to the meetings and practices, and he's always he's in my ear, and I ask him for help all the time, and he's always willing to give me feedback. And yeah, for that I'm very, very thankful for.
Absolutely, man. You get to watch the blueprint in a way, right, unfold in those last couple of weeks, and now get to step in and try and pick this thing up. You get handed the keys, so to speak. It's like, don't go and crash this now. We got a good little thing going. We're on a nice little drive right now. That drive is 6-0, and it didn't look like it was a wire-to-wire victory, of course. 14-3 at half. You go into the break down. What were those conversations like at half, and how'd you come out of that maybe with a little bit of a new mindset?
Yeah, it was obviously, I mean, for those that don't know, it was a very windy game. It was 40-mile-per-hour winds, constant the whole game. So we knew that, every possession that we had to take advantage of. And we didn't have very many in the first half. I think we had like 24 plays in total as an offense. So the second half, what our mindset was, just kind of slow it down a little bit and really just not look so far ahead in the grand aspect of the game, and just, hey, let's get a couple first downs, and hey, let's get a score on this drive, and really focus on one drive at a time, and not getting too far ahead of ourselves. So that was kind of the main thing that we focused on, and it did help us.
And you had to go out there and help yourself, of course. At some point, you get a chance to kind of one chance to really cap this game off and put you guys ahead. You're down 7. You help orchestrate a really big drive down the field. That's capped off with the touchdown to Huber. What was going through your head on that series, man? It kind of everything coming to a point, and all of a sudden, whether you like it or not, all eyes are on you, and you really have to shoulder the burden of being the dude under center. That's what comes with the position, of course. But talk to me about what's going through your head in that series.
Yeah, and that, we get in the huddle and just making sure that the huddle's like, hey, let's just, let's have fun. Let's go be great. Like, telling the guys, like, these are the moments we live for here. And making sure that I can stay as calm as I can. So that way, when everyone in the huddle's looking at their quarterback, making sure that, oh, he's calm, he's poised. Like, I have nothing to worry about. We're going to win this game. And so in those high pressure situations, I try to, make sure I do my best to make sure that they know that, like, we're good. Like, let's go have some fun. And kind of going in that last drive, we had to go fast, 2-minute drill. And the O-line did a great job that whole drive. It was great, and receivers made plays. So, and then it worked out. We had fun, and that's really the main thing was just kind of take a deep breath, settle down, and like, let's finish this game off strong.
You talk about giving those guys maybe a little bit of confidence and things that are as literal as your body posture, right? And the way you carry yourself in a drive like that, right? Not trying to be eccentric or, a million things a minute. Focus on one thing at a time. Go out there, enjoy yourself, have some composure. Things that are very easy to say, by the way, and very difficult to do for a lot of guys. Very much not the case for you, but flip that. How have the guys and the coaching staff really bought into you, and how have they helped to grow your confidence in the week leading up to Saturday, and then, of course, during the game on Saturday? How have they helped to prop you up? I know defensively, interception kind of on the goal line in the end zone, another big-time stop. Like, those guys definitely stepped up for you.
Oh, yeah.
But how has this team really propped you up and kind of endorsed you as the guy, man?
Yeah, I'd say, as soon as, I started getting some more reps and, word got around that I'd be starting that game. The older leaders on the team had reached out to me and just said that, hey, we got your back and we believe in you. And so that support from my teammates, especially the older ones and like the senior captains, that means a lot to me and gives me confidence. And, not only my players, but my coaches, being willing to give me the opportunity to make my first college start in one of the most important games of our season.
Yeah, man.
The key to the city. So that gives me all the confidence in the world because, for them to trust me in an important game like this, it's all that needs to be said. So yeah, going into the game, our team and the culture we do not back down and we do not turn on each other, and we keep our faith throughout the game, throughout all the ups and downs, and it shows week in and week out. So that helps. That does help me stay calm too, knowing that our defense has got our back. When we need to stop, our defense is going to come through. And you know what? Since they came through, that means we are going to come through for them too. So, that's what I would say for them having my back and giving me confidence and making sure.
Saw the posts from the football account on Twitter and the key to the city kind of tucked away there in bed. Did you tuck it right back in on Saturday night? We're right back to where it belonged.
Yeah, I know. I'm not too sure who runs that account, but I like
that was gold.
Yeah, I like seeing those posts and stuff. And
that was solid.
One of our editors makes like a victory big heads too. So that's that's one of my.
That was out on that was out on the D1 Rejects page for sure. Yeah. I love those. Those edits are great.
Those are really, really fun to see after games.
It's becoming a weekly tradition at this point.
Yeah, well, hopefully we keep it going.
Yeah, exactly. How about the decision to go for 2? Right? Was that always the thought from the staff and the guys?
Well, to be honest, I'm not too sure. All I was doing was just trying to make sure we at least get in the end zone and give us a chance.
Correct. Yeah, you got to get the touchdown before you either decide to tie it or go for the win.
And then, as an offense or even as a team, we trust whatever decisions our coaches are going to make. So, as soon as they said, hey, we're going for 2, I'm like, let's do this. And, we go for 2 and we have a great play design and we get it. And we have all the confidence in the world in our defense to make that stop. There was like 1:20 left on the clock. Yep. So, basically we trust our coaches for whatever decisions they think are going to be best for us in the game. And they do a great job of managing the game too with timeouts and all that stuff too. So,
yeah. Amen. You've gone back, you've watched the tape. What excites you about what you see from yourself on Saturday, and what are you excited about improving on heading into this week versus CSP?
Yeah, I would say what excites myself about how I can build off of last game is that I'm just thankful we got the win, no matter how it ended up. That's the most important part. But having the success that we were able to have, there's also a lot of things that we can continue to work on and get better. And there's a lot of things that I need to continue to get better at, and a lot of mistakes that I have made. So that's what excites me is, yes, we had good amount of success, but there's still so much more to build off of. And, this week we're focused on is going 1-0. CSP is a very athletic team and a very dangerous team. And we will not take them lightly and not look far past them.
Spoken like a true quarterback, my friend. You're a freaking pro. You are a pro, dude. I love it.
That's me. That's just me.
I love it, brother. Thank you very much for your time tonight, man. That's all I got for you. Anything else from me?
All right. No. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to maybe getting on soon again.
Hell yeah. Let's check back in when these Vikings are rolling. We come into playoff type weather over there. This would be an exciting conversation, man. You guys are definitely in the right direction. Thank you very much for joining me, man. Have a good rest of your night.
Thanks, Kobe. You too.
Division II football treated us to an awesome slate of games this weekend. And, of course, fellas, we're going to start with our Player of the Week selections from across the Division II landscape. And it's tough every week. This week was no different, but we do got some pretty good picks for you. At the offensive pick for the player of the week, Cam Woods, the tight end from Northeastern State, the Riverhawks, took on West Florida. And honestly, boys, give them all they could handle. They did not come away with the win. Argonauts took that one. But Cam Woods got his. 7 catches, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns for the tight end down there. Tim, how many fantasy points did you say that was worth?
That's, I think, if my math was correct, about 45 to 47 in that range, which is ridiculous from the tight end spot. You're winning that week for sure. Shout out to Tights. Love this pick.
Yeah, that's stupid production there, and you keep going into the defensive spot. Desmond Green, the DB from Lenore-Rhine, a Bears and Blazers game. They play Valdosta State that at the beginning of the year, that would have been the top 10 matchup that we were talking about. Maybe not one we'll talk about later on, but instead we got two teams that are kind of playing for their lives in 2025. Desmond Green stepped up to the task. 2 interceptions on the day, 7 tackles. One of those takeaways through the air would kind of end up being the game sealer for the Bears. And then in the special teams spot, how about Braden Biller? 10 punts, 46.1, and the average department. He booted one of them for 76 yards, boys, and shout out to the Grizz. One thing they do a lot of over there is unfortunately punt.
I was just about to say, one of those stat sheet stuffers where the coaches aren't too happy about it.
Yeah, like great individual performance, but if you're Adam State, you're like, I really hope our guy does not punt 10 times every game.
Caleb Williams must have told him that he was never going to punt before, so he had to punt all the time.
45 to 2.
That is aged like a milk.
45 to 2 was the final score of that game. That's an odd score.
That is a great point. That's got to be some kind of scoregami or something. We need that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of the big-time games in terms of the national slate this week, fellas. Sioux Falls is Vikings territory. Augustana, they win the key to the city game 29-28 in a game that really lived up to all expectations, but not necessarily in the way that we imagined. And our guest on this show, boys, was the quarterback for the Vikings in Rich Lucero Jr., a guy that stepped up. He thought he was going to redshirt in 2025, and he hadn't really seen the field in his freshman season, which is not really surprising when you're behind a star quarterback in Gunnar Hensley, who got hurt in the fourth quarter of last week's game. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the conference, leading this Augustana team to a lot of victories in his time there in Sioux Falls. But Lucero, he gets the call. His first collegiate start, fellas. He leads 3 scoring drives in the fourth quarter. One of them 99 yards down the field, throws 2 touchdowns, guiding the Vikings to a big-time win. 18-point comeback, 29-28 W for this Augustana team. And that for me is really the story of the game, boys, is that you have a guy like this that steps up when his name is called. And I'll pull a couple of the highlights here just to kind of illustrate the order of events of some of how it went down, guys. And the wind was certainly a big time factor in this one, but you know when the wind doesn't matter? When the rushing attack is doing very well. Augustana certainly had their fair share of explosive plays. You see it right here. We talked about losing Jared Epperson out of that backfield, what that would mean for this Vikings talented offense. Here he is, Lucero under center. Not perfect throughout the course of the day, but threading dots like this one to make big-time plays when they needed it most to pick up the win over USF. Another one right here dropping into the bucket for the score. That would be enough for Augie to roll away with this one, boys. Statement win with the freshman quarterback at center. A little trickery, I believe, in the 2-point conversion to officially put this one away.
Yeah, Kobe, we talked about rivalries all the time when it comes to like GV and Ferris, those teams in the PSAC, right? Like, I don't know if anybody's closer than 0.3 miles apart as far as a rivalry is concerned. And then to have a freshman, come out and play the way he did, a 99-yard scoring drive, 18-point comeback in your first career start. Talk about hitting a high note immediately. Not saying it's all downhill from here, but like you start your career off very, very high. It's one of those things to where not only are you setting like the benchmark, but you're just like, okay, if I can do this, and this is just my first start, how much better can I be? You know what I'm trying to say? So good for Lucero Jr. And that's awesome for the Vikings to get that win. And especially like, we've kind of looked at those teams when it came to the Minnesota conference, right? And as far as like who is going to be the next best like team, like we kind of thought Bemidji might have been solid this year, and they kind of started to fall off in the beginning. So this is a really good win for them.
Yeah, Augustana certainly has been around. They've been one of the teams at the forefront of the conversation in the Northern Sun. They're one of only 2 teams left undefeated inside of the NSIC with Duluth, which those 2 teams don't even play each other. You got to remember, there's so many teams in the freaking conference. We don't get matchups with all of those teams. We had talked about how a guy like Marcus Hansen wouldn't play his former squad Bemidji because Mankato and Bemidji don't play each other in 2025. So weird matchups there, but you mentioned it. 0.3 miles apart. It's a 1-minute drive. I'm not exaggerating. It's not hyperbole when I say I've never heard of a rivalry that close in proximity. The Battle of the Ravine, like that one with Henderson State and Ouachita Baptist, certainly one that is very close proximity. It's said that someone could hit like a driver from one school to the other. But I literally pulled up the map, boys. I literally had to go grab the map and just to get a visual sense. This is not like the best view of it ever that I just got pulled up on like Google Maps or whatever, but it's literally across the street. It's like 3 blocks. It's like 3 blocks away from each other. These 2 schools are in such close proximity, man. I can't believe it. I can't wrap my head around it.
And, you got to feel good for the program, knowing that you have a freshman with this much maturity. I mean, this guy came back from 19 points down to win a game as a freshman. I couldn't imagine just stepping into a game as a freshman with that much responsibility,
right?
That many guys looking after me to lead this comeback in this type of game. So that's got to feel good. That's got to be a program win, if anything, for this team.
Very true. And let me tell you guys something in the interview. He's a pro when it comes to like the media training as well. Like, dude sounded like a seasoned vet, like talking over the questions. He's so quick to like deflect to all of his other guys and not take any of the credit and talk about how they still got to improve. He hit all the notes of your like typical quarterback coming off of a win. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But as a freshman, that's not a given. Like, he could have come on here and been like super jacked and pumped up and talked, said basically whatever because he kind of earned that right. But hearing from his head coach, Jerry Olszewski, he said, quote, "I thought he gave us the best opportunity to win this game. I wasn't anticipating being a 30-mile-per-hour win for the kid to go through, but he just has a very calm demeanor." And that is kind of the tale of it, man. Adapt and overcome, especially in some kind of ridiculous environment like that. The fact that we're even throwing the ball at all when we've got 30-mile-per-hour gusts is wild.
Credit to the teammates as well, right? Like we talked about it, it's a program win. Like them having we've all been in those situations where it's like maybe a young guy that you're not like, who is he going to be able to do it? It was like, no, we're going to rally behind this guy. And, it starts off with the coach being like, he gave us the best opportunity to win. So if your coaches are saying that, and then you got the guys in the team believing that, like we've all seen quarterbacks when their team doesn't believe in them, the team starts to crumble, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So when you have an opportunity like this for a freshman to go out there and come 18, like I'm sure there were some doubts, right? You're down 18
undoubtedly,
point comeback. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's all about staying together as a team, and credit to the Vikings for that.
Yeah, and that's what he had said in the interview, and kind of talked on that point. Because to your point, you got to make a decision if you're that group, and you can buy into him right away, which it sounds like this Viking squad did. He said those upperclassmen had reached out to him, and immediately, kind of as this was happening, in terms of he knew a little bit, a couple days in advance, that he was going to be getting this start, and these guys really rallied around him and kind of supported him and endorsed him and propped him up. A lot of times that could go the other way. And you could have guys that maybe we've probably seen it in terms of you're not going to outwardly say, I want you to fail or something like that. But you could have guys that secretly, if you aren't their guy, so to speak, or they like another guy and kind of favor another quarterback in that room, that could be silently preying on that downfall for you to go out there and maybe throw an interception or fumble the play or whatever. But certainly does not seem to be the case down there. But we go down to the PSAC, fellas. Not one, 2 ridiculous upsets inside of the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference this week. Gannon and Seton Hill defeat Slippery Rock and Cal PA respectfully. 2 games that, again, if you would have told me this was the outcome a week ago, I actually don't know what I would have told you. It probably would have been to seek some type of medical assistance.
Mm-hmm. These 2, Slippery Rock and Cal, had some huge wins on the year going up, and they were climbing in the rankings. And this just shows the competitiveness of the PSAC. It can kind of be like anyone's game any week. And now this has completely shaken up the top 25, completely shaken up the PSAC standings. It's pretty ridiculous. I was shocked to see this when you put this in the rundown and when I was looking at the scores over the weekend. Shocked.
Yeah, I'm definitely right there with you, man. This Gannon squad, to illustrate it for you, Gannon, the Knights, 0-4 to start 2025. This is not a team that has shown a whole lot of promise inside of this season. And Gannon, historically, maybe albeit not the front runner inside of the PSAC in recent history, has been a team to go out and pull off some of these type of wins. This year did not look like they had that in the tank. They had lost the last 10 games since Slippery Rock, which they're probably not the only team in that category. Slippery Rock has been so dominant historically inside of this conference. But Gannon, in their defense especially, 3 turnovers total on the day. Fellas, this one right here, the big one, the game-winning interception from Donovan Faria here for the Knights as they storm the field at home. And that would be the one that sealed the deal for Gannon. Slippery Rock, they outgained Gannon 540 yards to 438, but the Golden Knights 12-minute advantage in the time of possession battle, 36 minutes to 24. That, to me, along with the turnovers, really hard to overcome those kind of box score numbers, if you will.
I think, the turnovers definitely speak to the game, right? Like, when you're a good team like Slippery Rock is in a good program that just went on a run a year ago, right? Like, what it takes to win games, and you can't necessarily like look over somebody, right? At the end of the day, any given Saturday, like a team like Gannon's going to show up and give you the best they got. The margin of error for Gannon is going to be slim, right? So now all of a sudden you cause 3 turnovers, like you're now putting foot to the pedal, right? And we're going now. Like, we're in it. And then at that point it comes to, hey, best team's going to win today, right? Yeah. Like, do we think that if these teams were to play each other one more time later in the year, all of a sudden like that, like they miraculously, we know they won't, but all of a sudden if they did, would I play Slippery Rock? Yes. But at the end of the day, if Gannon's going to show up the way they are, even with 0-4, knowing they got nothing to lose, good for them. Like, the Knights, like, holding a team like Slippery Rock to like the turnovers, the time of possession, like you talked about, Kobe, that's just like the perfect storm for an upset.
Yeah, you level the playing field, right? And you give
Absolutely.
them that confidence. A team that is 0-4 like that, looking for a first win, and one that, let's be honest, we've both been on teams that have gone into games where we knew the outcome was most likely not favorable.
Yeah, unless you played perfect. Absolutely.
Exactly. Until someone makes a mistake on the other side and then compounds that mistake by doing it again, and all of a sudden you're breathing life into this Gannon sideline. Slippery Rock, back-to-back regular season losses for the first time since 2017, boys.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a stat.
Who do they have coming up this week? Do we know?
Slippery Rock?
Yes.
That I can find out for you. That is, they're actually going to Seton Hill, who we're going to talk about here in just a second. So you can see that one of 2 ways. Seton Hill coming off of a massive upset over this Cal PA squad. Can they double up on that momentum? Very much trending upward. Slippery Rock coming off of one of the worst losses in recent history for the Rock. Can they bounce back? 2 teams opposite trajectories, if you will. This Seton Hill team, they outscored the Vulcans 10-0 in the fourth quarter to pick up this win, forced a fumble on the opening kickoff. So not that this was necessarily a wire-to-wire victory, but it felt like at every point along the way, the Griffins were making plays. Kevin May, the head coach of this Griffins team, he's in his 7th year at Seton Hill. This is his first, though, as the head coach, fellas. So I thought that was definitely a noteworthy one. And again, both these guys, Slippery Rock, Cal PA, the 2 of the powers so far in the PSAC, just having an off week at the same time, and now all of a sudden Kutztown feels like the team.
Yeah.
In Super Region number 1.
Yeah, they might be running away with the PSAC after this week, man. Have you guys ever been on a team or in a game where you fumble the opening kickoff, or your team fumbles the opening kickoff? Because that has to be so deflating.
I fumbled the opening kickoff against Lake Orion our freshman year.
How'd you feel? Oh boy,
brutal. That was horrible.
I mean,
That
you
was
work
tough.
all week up to the game, kickoff. Oh, that
Yeah.
opening kickoff is probably one of the most hyped plays. Everyone's ready on both sides. And then that has just got to be so deflating, but such a momentum shift for the other team.
Yeah.
Seton Hill took advantage of it, man. I mean, you can't have those types of mistakes.
We
No,
just
you
talked
definitely
about it.
can't.
Kobe, we just talked about it with Gannon and Slippery Rock, like margin of error for these teams that aren't projected to win, right? Like the team that's trying to pull off the upset. Well, there's also a margin of error for the team that's not trying to get upset. When you set the
Sure.
tone like that immediately with turnovers, like turnovers are the ultimate like slow death for a team. You know what I mean? So if a team that's going to try to upset another team, whether it be high school, pros, college, is causing turnovers, you're breathing life into the team. That's like, yes, we can do this. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
Like it's complete. That is the total, like the pulse of these last two games that we've talked about is the other team forcing turnovers.
100%. And the one that we'll kind of move on to now, a little bit more propped up on the national stage. Both these teams competing maybe how they were expected to, although I will say I was the one to get this pick right on our Small School Saturday show. So absolutely
that.
love that. Love that for myself. Not only just saving the graphic, winning the damn thing outright. Love that.
I do have a question. Why do you keep picking the team that's not hosting you, though? I feel like you go with the other
I noticed
team
that too.
every time. I'm like, do you not want them to invite you back? Like,
I've done it the last 2 times. I didn't do it week 1.
No, you
I
did
it
it.
the
You
last
picked-
2 times.
you picked the Wisconsin.
I picked
school
Mankato
overall.
and I picked St. John's.
Yes. I'm like, what is this guy?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So in both those picks, not that I just did it for this sake. In both those picks, I was saving the graphic. Everyone else had chosen either Duluth or Bethel. And in both those picks, I did genuinely believe that those teams were going to win. Now, to be fair, that Minnesota State team lost on a last-second field goal to Duluth. That pick,
Fact.
really, you know what I mean? Like that was it wasn't terrible.
And then he missed it before, and then all of a sudden, makes
Correct.
It again, right?
So
Yeah.
we were very close to, that pick turning out a little differently. And then St. John's, dude, granted they hadn't played anyone crazy. They hadn't let up a point on defense in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah,
And you knew that was going to change against Bethel because they hadn't played the level of competition, but I thought very highly of that St. John squad. I think very highly of both those teams. Was very pumped when Bethel won it.
Let's get to the pick you got right. What did you
Yes,
think?
the one that I did get correct. I aced my D2 picks, which I better know that. UTPB, the Falcons control the Lone Star Conference, and boys, Daniel Jones, or should I say Cannon Gibson, have a day. We made the comp. I talked more about it
Daniel Jones
on the show. Do we remember our comps?
Yeah, I know, but I mean, he gives the guy like Josh Allen or something.
Daniel Jones is balling.
Daniel Jones is balling.
I know, but how? Anyway, continue. That's a different story.
Analogy aside, he had a day. 4 total touchdowns, 3 of them on the ground, actually, 1 through the air. Did have 2 interceptions, so definitely an area I'm sure that he and Coach McCullough and company want to clean up. But this is the best start in program history for this UTPB team, and really a young program in the grand scheme of things. Not a team that has been around for a millennium like some of these other Division II powerhouse programs. 5-0 overall, 3-0 inside of Lone Star Conference play. They earned their second win against a team ranked in the top 5 of the AFCA poll, and this is the first time in program history they've played in a matchup where both teams were ranked in the top 10. I think that goes back to this is a young program. They're not a storied past and tradition and history necessarily. They are paving and writing that story and that tradition as we watch, and to see it unfold in real time, fellas, is a really, really special thing. Angelo State, they had won their last 14 Lone Star Conference games. Not on Saturday. 28-14 UTPB. They continue to climb. The Falcons soaring right now in the Lone Star, fellas.
Yeah, and in our last episode, I think I said we're going to see who this UTPB team really is when they play Angelo State, because this was the matchup to watch. And I honestly thought that Angelo State was going to come away with this one, but UTPB keeps surprising us this year. This team was not on anyone's radar to start the season, but they are now a powerhouse. They're a top 5 team in the country. I mean, we got to take them serious, but they have a huge matchup coming up next week. Do you guys think that they can double down against Central Washington? Because that's going to be another massive game for this UTPB team.
It certainly will, and that matchup is one that is a very exciting one, again, to see how they're tested early and often. And you see here in some of the highlights that I'm showing, this multi-dimensional kind of attack from UTPB. Pulled out a little bit of the trickery, too. Gibson, one of his biggest connections on the day right there, a little bit of a flea flicker type action. He's maybe not got the most arm talent in the country, but he's an absolute gamer, a very tough one at that. Really enjoy watching him play. The Falcons defense certainly got after it. Not afraid to make some plays over the middle here offensively if you're UTPB. And he's, again, just a gamer, very tough individual, a guy that Coach McCullough definitely loves leading the offensive attack down there for this Falcons squad. The defense certainly getting after it as well. You see some of the pressure here on Fuller. That defensive line, that front seven unit certainly made their mark on Saturday. But Tim, to answer your question, this Central Washington team is freaking legit. I don't know if people really understand how much so, but Coach McCullough definitely does. He says here, quote, Central Washington is no joke. They're the best team I've seen, and if we don't play 100%, the best football we've played all year will get beat. That was his direct quote, I think, just today talking to the media.
And I love that mentality of just like, we had probably the biggest win, one of the biggest wins in program history.
Correct.
And we're not done yet. We had to look to next week. We got to get it done next week. Next week is the biggest game in program history. So I love that mentality from the coach. But to do this on the road at Angelo State in that type of environment, what an impressive win. What an impressive win.
Glad you brought that up, Tim, because that's the one thing I noticed immediately was like you go into another team's house, another team like Angelo State, who Kobe had brought up 14 LSC games in a row. Like
they don't lose. They don't lose at home.
Letting them know immediately that like we're not here just to be some cool story. We're actually here to be a really good team. And Kobe, the one thing that I want to make sure that and I think we would all agree with this would be like UTPB, the UTPB, say that 10 times fast.
Nice.
They can't fall to the Nick Saban rat poison. You know what I mean? Like we're hyping them up, where it's like, hey, you might have arrived, right? Like, and then all of a sudden they're playing Central Washington, not saying that they're falling for it, right? Like the coach has immediately been like, hey, they're no joke, right? But like, don't let the success get to you immediately. And if they don't, then we'll be talking about them later in the year as far as making a run. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's one of those where it's like it's a cool story now, right? Because we didn't really see this coming, and then all of a sudden they're here, and it's like, ooh, that they're here. Like the amount of times that we've talked about like teams, whether it be like I said in the college pros, high school level, no matter like they don't fall for the rat poison. I love that quote by Nick Saban.
It's a cool story until it's the expectation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like right now they pick up this win and it's like, yeah, man, UTPB is legit. And we could be sitting here having this conversation in 2 or 3 years and you're like, yeah, okay, UTPB just beat the number, 8 team in the country. Like good for them. That's kind of what we've come to expect from that squad. And who knows where that conversation kind of moves and shifts later on in the coming years. But to talk about some more impressive victories, fellas, over the weekend, let's start things off. Emory and Henry, they beat Carson Newman 19-13. In a game that, to be honest with you, limiting the offensive output from this Carson Newman squad. Yes, they run the option, but it is not your grandpa's option. Ashley Ingram, the head coach down there at Carson Newman, came over from the Naval Academy, and one of his quotes that I really like is he said, if you want to be really good running the option, you got to be able to throw the football. That is something that he lives by, and this offense is dynamic, even though it might not have the flashiest way of doing so. Carson Newman, the Eagles, they were number 22 ENH. They score 14 unanswered points, come from behind, beat the Eagles. That is the second consecutive year that they have visited Fred Self Stadium and walked away with a loss as a nationally ranked team. Pretty wild one right there.
Yeah, pretty wild one.
Wasps kind of building on some big-time wins. They won the time possession battle, guys, by almost 10 minutes. Again, against an option team, you win the time possession battle by almost 10 minutes. That jumps off the page.
100%. That option is so hard to defend, and that is the big key of the option is to hold the ball, run the clock, just wear down the defense. And if you can stop that and kind of reverse it on them, then that's massive in that type of ball game.
And I think the option is also one of those things, Cope, to where it's like you don't really see it against a lot of teams, right? So your attention to detail during that week of practice has to be so on par with
totally.
because this isn't like, oh, it's a copycat league. Like, not a lot of teams are running this anymore. You know what I'm trying to say? So
Correct. Yep. And potentially play of the game, redshirt freshman linebacker Greg Mason. He breaks through, blocks a punt from Carson Newman that rolls through the end zone before anyone could recover it. That was a safety, gave the Wasps a 5-0 lead. Potential play of the game there from Mr. Mason. But move over. The next one I want to talk about, fellas, the battle of the unbeatens in the GMAC. One of the ones we picked on the show, Findlay. They rolled versus Walsh in this one. And Drew, two teams that, Findlay we thought would definitely be at the front of the conversation inside of the GMAC, with teams like Ashland and Tiffin kind of rounding out that upper tier of the GMAC. Obviously, Timberwolves, Northwood might have something to say about that down the road. But Walsh, they being undefeated coming into this weekend was not something I had on my bingo card. Glad to see it. Findlay, though, didn't care. They weren't really one for the Cinderella story. 31-10, Findlay, they roll in this weekend's game.
Yeah, Findlay at this point, when it comes to the GMAC, like we had talked about it a couple weeks ago, like whether it's Tiffin, Findlay, Ashland, they've kind of set that, set in stone that those were the three teams to always like go through when it came to the GMAC. Obviously, Northwood's having a really good year. It's really good to see that. But, this is another one where Findlay, at the end of the day, let Walsh know that, like, we're still Findlay, right? When it comes to the GMAC, right? Like, Walsh was playing really good. They beaten Kentucky Wesleyan. What type of team is Kentucky Wesleyan? They're 0-5. They beat West Liberty, who's 1-5. Like, it's a couple of teams that, like, okay, when it comes to Walsh, like, they were 4-0. But how good were they? And Findlay just made sure to let us know, Findlay's that good, right? So when you look at Findlay's schedule, Kobe, talk about being blessed coming up, right? They got 3 home games in a row. They got Hillsdale, Kentucky Wesleyan, and Ohio Dominican. Hillsdale's having a, decent year, 2-3, right? Like, we all know Hillsdale, especially the guys, Tim, the guys that are from the GMAC, GLIAC area. Like, Hillsdale's always going to compete. Kentucky Wesleyan 0-5, Ohio Dominican 2-3, and then they go to Midland, and I think that at the end of the year for we're gonna find out what type of team Findlay is, because they go to Midland, to Ashland, and host Tiff in the last 3 weeks. So we're gonna find out what type of team they are when it comes November.
Very good chance the Oilers are undefeated heading into that match against the T-Wolves there, which is going to be really exciting. And in this one, I think what jumps off the page, Walsh scored first. This is the first 4-0 start for Walsh, at least before this weekend, since 2010. So the Cavs had a lot rolling in this one. They score first in this one against a Findlay defense that, guys, I just did the math. In the last 4 weeks, the Oilers have allowed a combined 27 points in 4 weeks of football. That's a pretty good one, especially, I omitted the first week, a 38-35 win over number 17 Indianapolis. But the last 4 weeks of football, 3-3-7-10. That's a really good stretch.
Indy's 5-1. Indy's 5-1 with 1 loss, 2 Findlay.
Correct.
So it's like, that's a good team.
Yep,
However,
it definitely is. So this,
this game also kind of let us know what Findlay was, because we talked about a couple weeks ago as well. Like, they barely beat Wayne State. Wayne State hasn't won a game. They beat up on Lake Erie. Okay, Lake Erie's won 1 game. Thomas Moore's won 0. So like, we're starting to figure out what type of team Findlay is, but to know for sure, I think it's going to wait to the end of the year.
Yep, Walsh held to only, guys, 38 rushing yards on the day. They were the league leader in the GMAC for rushing yards per game, and then they get held to 38 against this stifling Findlay defense. That, to me, is that's definitely a difference maker. How about Newberry? They bring down Wingate 43-42 in overtime. The Wolves rally to give Todd Knight his 100th career victory.
How about quarterback Reed Sharpia? Sorry if I get your name wrong, but Reed Sharpia, 413 yards, 6 touchdowns, 46 pass attempts. He hadn't thrown for more than 32 all season, but 46 pass attempts, 36 completions. That's a 73% completion percentage. Really impressive game from the quarterback from Newberry there. 100%.
This was a kind of a game of runs, guys. Wingate started things out 21-0. Bulldogs on top in the first, even going into the second quarter. Newberry would score right before the half, just 25 seconds left to at least get on the board. And when you talk about some of these big-time games, how do you win the last 2 minutes before halftime, and how do you come out and win the first 2 minutes after the break to set the tone, so to speak? Newberry did both of that. They scored with 25 seconds left in the second quarter, and they scored first in the third. All of a sudden, you went from 21-0 Wingate to 28-21 Newberry. 28 points unanswered. The whole game had flipped. Wingate comes back, fires off 2 scores. It was back and forth, and it wasn't touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. These were teams that were going on runs and had to just find ways to stop the bleeding, so to speak. And then we get into overtime, of course. Wingate comes out on top, or Wingate drops it to Newberry, excuse me. But the last one I want to talk about, Central Missouri, a team that, you know, this has been a team on top of the MIAA when Zach Zabrowski was there under center, the 2-time Harlan Hill winner. Still a lot of really big-time pieces for this Mules attack and team in general, but did I have them beating Central Oklahoma on the road? I don't know if I did. We didn't pick this one on the show. I don't know if I would have taken the Mules in this one, but nonetheless, 35-34, UCM takes out UCO in what is a really big-time win, a kind of a statement win for the Central Mo team.
What does Kobe? What does that put UCO at now?
They're 3-2 right now, and their losses have come. They started the year 0-2, Drew, to Delta State and Colorado State Pueblo. Now, that Pueblo loss was by 5 points to a really good CSUP team. We obviously know, and Delta State is playing like a top 25 team right now. But again, both those losses not inside of conference play. So you have to look at it right now. Yes, they're 3-2. But inside of the MIAA, this UCM team is 3-0.
Wow.
Yeah. So they still have a lot of tests on the schedule. I'll tell you that right now. They are playing Northwest next week, and then you've got still on the schedule Emporia, Fort Hays, Pitt State, Kearney. Like, still a lot to prove. But again, you're 3-0 inside of conference play. Everything is still in front of you, especially now with the auto bid situation in D2 football. So it leaves a lot of the door is still open. 100%. Some other scores from around the league that I think we should definitely worth covering. MSU Moorhead, they beat Minot State in overtime 40-37. And this one, again, is wild because Minot is not a team that typically puts up 37 points. And I did not think the Beavers would be able to hold up with the offensive firepower that the Dragons have with Jack Strand and company over there under center for Moorhead. Kudos to them. Moorhead still picks up the W, but Minot showing that they can kind of stay in an offensive-focused game. So that is certainly an impressive feat. Mesa, they beat Colorado Mines 28-24. Big-time win over there for the Mavs out west. We had West Florida holding on. We talked about it a little bit earlier versus Northeastern State, 31-24. Kind of a scare in the Qua there for the Argonauts. Did not think that was going to be very close.
They need a scare, though. They've been kind of rolling this year. They need a scare.
Correct. Yeah, I believe it's, Drew, I saw the face. I believe it's like Tahlequah, Oklahoma. They call it the Qua.
The Qua.
The Qua.
Nice.
Yeah. So
like
kind of a cool dude. We've had their head coach, Coach Chiaverini on the show. So he's a good dude. Former Colorado Buff. He played there.
Coach Prime.
He's the man. But keeping things rolling, go back to the MIAA. Pitt State, they win at home again versus Nebraska Kearney. Boys, you talk about a team with some really good momentum and trajectory right now. Pitt State has figured it the hell out.
They have.
When all you guys were selling stock, I was buying. I was reinvesting.
Yeah, okay. All you guys.
Letting you know.
Yeah. They are rolling, though, and that place is one of the toughest to play in all of D2 football. 24-6, that defense from the Gorillas continues to be stifling. Lenore-Rhine, they win at the road against Valdosta State, 32-25. Talking about the game-sealing interception from Desmond Green there for the Bears. And then how about South Dakota Mines? They win the 140th Black Hills Brawl versus Black Hills State, 27-13. Two teams that maybe aren't in the national scene, but one of the oldest rivalries in all of college football, the oldest in the Division II ranks. We talked about a little bit on the show on Saturday. Drew, your Timberwolves, they rout Ohio Dominican 28-3, and even though ODU is a team that, yes, they on paper should go out and beat, did it in a pretty dominant fashion.
Hey, Cobe, all I'm saying is this. Northwood's next 3 games, Lake Erie, Hillsdale, we talked about, and Kentucky Wesleyan, and then Findlay. If Northwood is 5-1, 6-1, and Findlay's undefeated,
hey,
and you got your D1 Rejects game day. That's a hot one right there.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay. What What is the what's the day of that one?
The
Let's see.
1st of November.
That's November 1st?
Yes.
It is. It
12
is.
12 o'clock, Midland, Michigan.
Okay. We don't have anything scheduled for that date for the show.
Well, I think we know a guy that might be very interested in being.
Let's see. Yeah, maybe a couple. Let's see.
Actually,
Let's see if these guys
funny?
can take care of business.
You want to hear something funny?
I would.
Because it goes into the next game that we were at, or that we're going to talk about. The ref on Friday night's game looks at me, and I was asking him a question. He's like, "Oh, you play ball somewhere?" I was like, "I played at Northwood." He goes, "Northwood, man, I had your guys' team versus I had you guys versus SAG a couple weeks ago." I was like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "That head coach, man, he was talking shit to the other sideline."
Coach B, I'm assuming.
He goes, "Man, he was rowdy. He was ready to go." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's how he is." I go, "Who you got tomorrow?" He goes, "I got Davenport at GV." And I go, "What you think?" He goes, "I'm picking GV by a blowout." That was the ref.
The ref who shall not be named, but he was correct. GV, they pull away in this one. Grand Valley State, they play host to Davenport, and they start the GLIAC slate off here. 37-14, the Lakers win this one, and they pulled away. But if I remember correctly, I'm going to pull up the box score here because I want to say this was pretty competitive early on. And then, again, GV kind of pulled away. And it was. This was a game that was a one-score game all the way until the last little bit of even going into halftime, actually. GV led by a touchdown at the break. 21-14 Lakers at the break. And then Davenport just forgot to score in the second half, and GV pulls away for a 37-14 final. But again, a one-touchdown game at half for a Davenport team that always has the dudes, the athletes, and it just can't seem to hang with GV.
Davenport, SAG, Tech. We've talked about this, Coben. Obviously, we've been in the conference for a while. It's always like when it comes to beating Ferris and GV, this margin of error is so small, right? Like, and remember a couple years ago, SAG and Ferris went back and forth. I believe the game went to overtime.
Yeah, correct, it did.
Right, and then I remember
it's a far cry from this year's SAG team, isn't it?
Yeah.
And but, they took care of business this weekend against the Cats. They needed to bounce back. They got it. They dominated. But
I think everybody takes care of business first. All
right. We're on like quarterback 4, dude.
What's the streak at? You guys are like the Undertaker at this point. You guys got a streak going.
I think it's like 27 or 28.
Oh my God. Oh man, that's it's one of those things tough. You joke about, but then you actually like feel bad for them.
That's tough.
Hey, we got this weekend though.
Who you guys got this week?
GV at home.
Say that again. I didn't hear you. Who you got?
GV at home.
Oh.
Hey, 50th anniversary of the 1975 championship game. Steve Mariucci's going to be on site for this one. He's going to bring some good karma.
Steve Mariucci better give the speech of a lifetime.
We're playing, dude. So just like again, we're going tangent, but like I'm cutting up the videos and stuff for the 75, honoring that team, of course, the national championship team. And what's really cool about that team, if you guys don't know, they didn't win a game the year prior. In 1974, Northern Michigan University went winless, and then they went 13-1 and win the national championship in 75. So it was like one of the greatest turnarounds. They're talking about maybe like I'm not bullshitting when like I say like Netflix sounds like they might pick this up and turn it into like a real feature film type movie type thing. So a lot of cool things there. But anyways, watching the film on the offense from 75, there's way too many similarities to what we're running right now, to what Northern looks like right now. It's just that we're not as efficient.
So you're saying that next year Northern might win the national championship?
I'm just saying it wouldn't be the first time.
If lightning strikes twice, the Cats are going all the way.
Yes. Pretty cool little stat there. Cool story for my Cats.
That's cool.
That is a nice stat.
Yeah. But yeah, all seriousness, no, it's gonna be it'd be a tough weekend. I will not be there though, because Allie's running the Chicago Marathon, so I'll be out of town.
Oh, that's right. When do you guys play?
That's
when do you play Roosevelt?
The week following. So that'll be a good one.
That's gonna be a big one. Yeah,
exactly, at Roosevelt. So that'll be a big one. But I'll stop my rambling. That's all we've got for Division II football. Thank you, fellas. It was a packed slate in Division III football this week, fellas, and we got to be witness to one of the best games in all the country in St. John's at Bethel, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But, of course, starting things off with our Walter Camp Football Foundation Gridiron 1880 Players of the Week. Offensive Player of the Week. Connor Berry. The captains are absolutely rolling right now. Christopher Newport, 27 of 44. It's a lot of pass attempts, but he did a good job through the air. No interceptions, 434 yards, 6 total touchdowns, 5 of them through the air, 1 on the ground. This captain's team, boys, they are absolutely rolling.
No, it's been fun to see so far. You know, a team that I wasn't very familiar with going into the year, but it feels like every week they're doing something to be relevant and including, you know, their first few weeks here. I mean, this is no different, but yeah, this kid is absolutely balling so far this season, especially this last week. Holy cow.
That he is. And on the defensive side of the ball, there were a few really good selections. Devin Williams from Bethel certainly being at the top of that list too, a guy that we got to see in person. But Ben Bladel, 4 sacks, 5 TFLs, 7 total tackles on the day for Grove City in a pretty dominant win. The linebacker who will, I'll say it, undoubtedly you're looking at probably a first-team All-American type selection in this guy and maybe even a couple others from this Grove City team. You take down the quarterback 4 times from behind the line of scrimmage, you basically have secured your spot on our Player of the Week list.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. Like, getting after the quarterback is so essential. It's so essential. And you have a guy like that can do it. It completely wrecks the game for the offensive line. The whole scheme that the other offensive has, it totally wrecks the game.
And the potential lock of the century, boys. Michael Stack, the kicker from UW-La Crosse. Not only was he 3 of 3 in front of 20,000 fans down there in Perkins Stadium in Whitewater, he hit one from 43 yards out, which is an impressive feat in of itself. 2 for 2 in the point after tries, and the one of those was the overtime game winner to seal the deal for the Eagles in what was, in a lot of people's minds, the game of the week, boys. Stack, This is not the first time he's done that in Perkins against Whitewater. And as Pat Coleman, our friend from D3Football.com, talked about in the Around the Nation podcast this week, I think he was calling it the Stack House. That was the that's what the maybe the group of Eagle fans down there as they were leaving the stadium had started to affectionately call the residency of the Warhawks the Stack House, boys. I mean, he's done it multiple times. It's actually absurd that it happened again.
I mean, I'll ask. I know we're going to talk about it in a little bit and talk about the game like thoroughly a little bit more. But I'll pose this question to you boys. Like, is Stack one of the most clutch D3 football, like D3 kickers ever?
Yeah.
I mean, he did it 2 years ago. I mean, he did it this year. I mean, he's done it from long range. He's done it, you know, at some tough angles. But I mean, this dude is absolutely incredible. I mean, all year he's consistent, but to go into Perkins Stadium twice and kick a game-winning field goal twice in the same like tenure as a college football player is insane to me.
Yeah,
it is ridiculous. He's like a playoff ceiling kick away from legendary status down there at La Crosse, if not already so. Right? You talk about those 2 kicks in of itself is going to certainly put him in the record books, and I'm sure there are many others out there that may off the top of our head we couldn't think of. But that's something to watch as we move forward here and talk about this D3 football season. But let's talk about royalty in the MIAC, boys. And, of course, the play on words there, the Bethel Royals sit atop alone the conference standings after their big-time win over number 4, St. John's. This was a matchup between 4 and 12 that really lived up to the billing, and maybe not in an offensive firepower type of standpoint. The fireworks, we maybe didn't expect that. St. John's coming into this one, their defense hadn't let up or conceded a single point in 3 weeks of contests, and Bethel certainly came up and answered the call offensively, especially, boys, when it came to on the ground. That was the thing that really impressed us, talking with, of course, Coach Tay, some of the guys post-game. They wore these guys down. They absolutely did. That St. John's defensive line, that front 7 unit, absolutely as advertised in that first half. But you saw it. That Bethel offensive unit started to push the line of scrimmage. They literally just wore them down over the course of the game. And when you have, it's not just Tay Mans. We'll talk about him, of course, because he was the guy that had the game-sealing type of touchdown. You got a couple guys in that backfield that were just dealing and were physical all day long. This is the touchdown that put Bethel ahead in this one. You can just see, eventually, as you wear these teams down, a hole or a crease will be created. Mans takes advantage of that. The boys, the student section for the Royals, they're standing right on the paint, boys, behind the end zone. One of the most intimate atmospheres I've ever had the chance to be a part of. Absolutely electric scene. About 6 minutes left to go in that game, and he clinches it for the Royals. This game absolutely lived up to the billing. I know you guys didn't get to necessarily stick around for all of it, but let me tell you, from right here inside of what were crazy conditions weather-wise, both these teams definitely persevered and showed out.
Yeah, I mean, I said during the show that the team with the best quarterback was probably going to win, and that's not to say that, Feeney and Dittenbender didn't play well, because they certainly, did play well. But Cooper Drews, man, he is efficient. He is a leader. He's a big dude as well.
He's massive.
I think
can we talk about that for a second? Massive human being.
I mean, we talked about it on the show a little bit. He walked up to the set, and I was like, goodness gracious, you are a monster of a human being. So,
hey,
I mean,
how about the post-game interview, Gavin? I'm not going to say what they were. Gavin made a couple analogies as to what I looked like standing next to him in the post-game.
I can guess what he said.
Jabo, Jabo.
But
yes.
Cooper Drews, man, he's making his case to be the MIAC Player of the Year, if not one of being in the national conversation. I mean, for Bethel, it's just don't screw this up now, right? They
Correct.
have everything in front of them. They should host. They should have a first-round bye if everything goes well. Again, St. John's, everything is still in front of them as well. Not to switch
Correct.
over to them too quickly, but everything is still in front of St. John's. If they win out, they could very well host a playoff game. If everything, works in their favor, but certainly the Johnnies wanted to win this one so bad, but I just think Cooper Drews wanted it more, fellas. And my difference maker, Albert Rundle, absolutely balled out as well. 8 catches, 92 yards, had a long of 47.
Let me tell you, Seth, on that 47-yarder, we're talking about a ball. Rundle off the line of scrimmage, 2 guys on him, going down the right sideline. Cooper Drews, off-platform, kind of moving type of throw in really hostile, not quarterback-friendly conditions, drops it into an absolute bucket down the right sideline. One of the most impressive plays in the entire game from your guy Drews. And there weren't a lot of big-time passes in this one. That was the longest of the entire day. It was a big one, but very, very impressed by the arm strength and the accuracy from him on that instance. Pretty wild. The selflessness, I think, is something we talked about with both those teams, right? We had the AFCA features, both those guys with Williams and Wheeler respectively. Albert Rundle is a great example of that. The quarterback turned wide receiver. Selfless. Took on the job that the team needed, and he's been a dude. Right, you talked about the receivers that they lost. Now, St. John still had a couple of guys that had a day. Dylan Wheeler, he's going to go get his 8 catches, 113 yards. But Gendro, 4 catches for 35. Not the stat line we're used to seeing out of the big tight end. One of the best in all of D3 football. So definitely able to limit him, especially when the air attack for St. John's just wasn't getting too much going there, Jim.
I have a feeling my guy Jake Borman had something to do with that. The transition DB to linebacker. I know he was my playmaker, my difference maker of the game. 11 tackles, and I'm sure I have to go back and watch the film, but I think he had a little bit something to do with Gendro only having 4 catches. I'm sure. Being a linebacker against tight ends, a lot of the times when they're in man coverage, they're going to be manning up the linebacker at the tight end. So, especially a guy who played DB previously, also, he's a really athletic linebacker. So I'm sure that was a tough matchup for St. John's.
Yeah, because usually that's a mismatch. You get a tight end out on a backer, especially if you got an athletic guy, a fluid movement type of guy like Gendro. That's a favorable matchup for an offense, usually.
Yeah.
Again, look at who they went up against in the first couple weeks, fellas. You're going up against probably smaller, not as fast linebackers. Then you go against a guy like those guys from Bethel. I mean, they're gonna fly around. They're gonna cover that dude. So, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to pick and choose. Which are you gonna go put your best cover guy on Gendro? Probably not. He's gonna dominate you in the run game. So we'll just let Wheeler just go one-on-one all day. So it's tough, but.
Yeah, and then Devin Williams, I mean, I can't even say unsung because everyone there knew about it. He was the sung hero of the day. 11 tackles, a TFL on, I believe it was 3rd down. St. John's is knocking on the door near the Bethel end zone. He comes through off the right side, boys, and you just heard the crack, heard the pop. Just one-on-one, made the play in the backfield and really stuffed the St. John's chance. And then had an interception to open the game before we even got into the stadium. We're still packing up the gear for the show, and we hear this big crowd pop from the Bethel side. It, of course, was Mr. Williams pulling down the interception, one of the only takeaways on the day. So we will keep moving forward, but obviously Goes without saying that is the win of the year so far for Bethel. They had 2 cracks at it last year. Took until 2025 to get it done for Coach McElroy and company. Let's talk number 5, UW-La Crosse. They go to number 9, Whitewater. And this one didn't start the way the Eagles had hoped. Down 17-0, but they claw their way back into this one, Jim.
Yeah, so obviously a huge performance from Michael Stack, but let's not forget the entire special teams unit from La Crosse.
Yep.
They recovered a muff punt in the end zone when they were down 17 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter to make it 17-7. Like, you get that punt off and you force the Crosse to drive down the field and score a touchdown, and then they maybe score before the end of the third quarter because they were moving the ball all day, and that play completely changed the entire trajectory of this one. And not to mention, the defense as well stepped up in a tremendous way as well. The one possession that stood out to me, it was Whitewater had the ball, 1st and 10 on the 34, on La Crosse's 34 with about 6 minutes to go. They get a couple yards. They're in field goal range. They go up 10, game over, right?
Yep.
Nope. 1st and 10, incomplete. 2nd and 10, they get stuff to the line of scrimmage. And 3rd down, they get a huge sack to knock them out of field goal range, force them to punt, and then they block the punt. Like, unbelievable sequence of events
of
from
the
the
game.
Crosse Eagles. Unbelievable. I mean, just stellar performance. And then you got Gabe Lynch, who we said we need to get Gabe Lynch more involved in this one. We all said that in the pregame show at Bethel and St. John's. We made a statement that, like, hey, the Crosse wants to win this game. They have to establish the run game, and they have to feed Gabe Lynch. That's exactly what they did. 20 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. The game tying ones to force it to overtime, then obviously clutches all get out, man.
20 was
Michael
the number
Stack.
of the day. They played
Come
in
on.
front of listed 20,167 fans down there at Perkins Stadium. And that's a really impressive number. Unfortunately for the home side down there, while the Whitewater Warhawks may have dominated the time possession battle by a 9-minute margin, fellas, this kind of felt like the wheels were falling off for this Whitewater offense, I guess, particularly in the second half. And even when you talk about defensively, not a terrible performance when you consider that part of that came in the special teams game. And you look at this La Crosse side, Kyle Haas, first of all, I guess just not really having the, playmaking ability that we've seen. 3 interceptions through the air. I'm trying to sugarcoat it. There's no real sugarcoating it. He threw the ball to the other team 3 times, and they were still able to claw their way back. So I'm not going to sit here and you kind of have to put this one on the Whitewater offense for the wheels falling off.
I mean, if you look at the drives that Whitewater scored, the first one they scored on was an 11-play, 64-yard drive.
Boom.
And then they got La Crosse on a short field, so a 30-yard drive, and then they kicked the field goal. And so offensively, Whitewater just – I mean, you look at Klinkner, he only threw for 79 yards, and nobody really stepped up big time running the ball. I mean, they had a bunch of running back by committee essentially, but I mean, offensively, they just didn't look good at all, fellas.
Yeah, the scene in overtime, as I'll play the video for the random few that maybe haven't seen the kick from Stack to put this one away for the Eagles, video courtesy of Pat Coleman at d3football.com. And this one, deja vu for Warhawk fans in double OT. I think we might have failed to mention that one. We got extra free football in Whitewater. As you can see, that incredible crowd down there for this meeting between the Eagles and the Warhawks. 23-20, the final score in that one, boys. And I think we can continue the conversation then inside of the same conference. A little bit of a different, more unexpected result. The Titans, they take down number 11, River Falls. This is one that the boys on the show definitely got wrong. The graphic was a clean sweep in the opposite directions. Titans, they stun the Falcons. Give me the thoughts. Give me the reaction, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, really, really hard one, fellas. I mean, a hard one overall. If you watch the game in its entirety, if you click that thing on in the fourth quarter, you're probably wondering, like, where's all the points?
Yep.
And really, like, when you go and play in the WIAC, that's what you're gonna get a lot of times. And you might look at River Falls as like, hey, we're gonna run a million plays and score all these points, which yes, but at the end of the day, like, if you turn the ball over in the red zone twice, and I don't know where they were when Caleb threw the pick, going from right to left on the video, and then they turn the ball over on downs. I don't know if that was in the red zone either, but you're 2 plays away from really winning that game on offense. And then you're really 2 plays away as well on defense with the 2 long throws to end the game. I don't know exactly how much time was left on the clock, but 2 long throws. And I said this at the end of the game. They were on the goal line to win it for Oshkosh. And I said to myself, like, this is where Michael Brown or Aaron Borgerding or Dylan Brown makes that play. Like, this is where one of those guys makes that play. And I know
who's going to be that guy this time.
Right. And so I was saying, like, this is where, like, Michael Brown takes it to the house on a pick 6, but, a lot of inexperience at DB. And so I think some of that's showing, unfortunately. But those guys are going to keep getting better throughout the course of the year. And at the end of the day, man, like, if River Falls wins out, they might be conference champions. Like, they very well could be.
True.
And if they go and beat Platteville, who is, they're the champs right now, and they could certainly, like, if River Falls beats Platteville, which I certainly think they can, like, is anybody going to be, like, surprised? Like, no, we're going to be in the same situation we were in last year, where all these really good teams are beating up on each other. And so this one definitely hurts, but their season's definitely not over. And I'm really impressed with Oshkosh's defense. That defense is so hard to go against. Jimmy, you know about that defense. Like, there's 5 safeties back there, 3 down linemen. Sad, upset, but hungry is my feeling, Kobe.
Hell yeah. I feel like we just got a glimpse inside the locker room. I love
did.
that.
I know exactly what Coach Walker was saying. I feel it. I know that he's ready to attack this week. I didn't even chat with him yet, but I know that they are going to be ready to go against this Pioneer squad, man.
Love that. The lead in this one changed twice in the last 2 minutes. So you kind of talked about it, the late heroics in this game. And this, as I pull it up here in just a second, this was the touchdown that gave the Titans a 21-17 lead. Schwalbe, who is on the receiving end of this touchdown, comes up big for the Titans. And that's kind of an interesting point for me. Here's the play as it's just 14 seconds left, kind of evades the tackle, a limp, almost flying duck into the end zone, but the play is made. It was a very unconventional scoring type of play, one that River Falls, like we kind of talked about, had every chance to make a play, whether it was behind the line of scrimmage or while that ball was in the air. But to the dismay of the Falcons faithful everywhere, that one went the way of the Titans, boys. And I think that's kind of an interesting point for me. You talk about this Titans offense and who got it done, who has been getting it done for them. And London Little is a guy that we've talked about on this show that has been kind of the focal point of the offense, I think, in a lot of different ways. He caught 4 passes, 60 yards through the air. Schwalbe's been a guy that definitely has been one to talk about as well, keen under center. But Vilovsky scored a touchdown, recorded over 100 rushing yards, 2 touchdown effort on 17 attempts. This is a guy that is definitely separating himself in terms of the Oshkosh offensive skill. And then defensively, the guy leading the charge for them, Dickinson, he had another day. 15 tackles, and Kenny Satori, 10 of them, including 2.5 tackles for loss. A very well split kind of box score here for the Titans squad. And it's really encouraging to me, and it kind of sounds funny, but when you go across the offenses in the WIAC, you can usually name a couple of guys right away that stand out on the offense. Not to say that Oshkosh doesn't have playmakers. You can't necessarily do that with this Titans team. It's not like there's a single guy that necessarily jumps out that is like the leader on the scouting report, so to speak. I feel like they're very multifaceted, as much as anyone inside of the WIAC, and that could be playing into their advantage here.
Well, I have a ton of respect for their head coach, Peter Jennings. I mean, he is able to scheme teams up in a way that I don't think there's a lot of coaches can. And also, again, what they do defensively is phenomenal. And so, like, it's no surprise. Like, I think the hell out of Oshkosh as much as I do any other team in that league.
100%. They get another test, of course, as we know how conference play goes. They are going to UW Stout, so that'll be an interesting one this coming week, boys. Let's go over to, dare I say, the snooze fest of the top 25 matchups as we continue here. Talking about D3 football, North Central, the Cardinals. They've done it again, boys, in very, very dominant fashion over a top 25 Wheaton team that, I'll be honest, kind of impressed me against Mount Union, the way they were able to at least respond and have gone forward, and then all of that hope went out the window. Cards 35-0 at home. They retain the Little Brass Bell.
2 weeks ago, we talked about like the gap between number 1, number 2, and number 3, and this game really solidified how big that gap was. Mount Union they were up big early on Wheaton, but they didn't really finish. We're showing the one by like 8 or 9 or 10 or something. North Central came in there and just mollywopped these guys, 35 zip. I mean, it tells you all you need to know about the gap between number 1 and number 2.
Interesting, because there are still a couple of voters in the media poll that are giving the Purple Raiders the first place vote ahead of the Cards. I'm with you in terms of you see the common opponent, see the way they've been able to handle teams. Mount Union is certainly still going to compete. It's not like they're going to, eventually, if we are fortunate enough to get that matchup again, I see it as being fortunate enough because I just want to see the best teams compete and play. If we are fortunate enough to get that matchup again, some people might call it boring. I just call it good football. We'll certainly see, and that's the best part about it is eventually, if you win enough games, we'll see them play each other again. But yeah. Going off common opponent, they demolished them. I mean, they certainly have, and at any chance along the way, they have proven that they are still head and shoulders above everyone else.
I don't even know if you should call this the battle for the Little Brass Bell anymore. You should call it just the Little Brass Bell game presented by North Central. Like this isn't even close anymore, fellas. Like, it's not even fun. It's
gotta be like legit, like actually demoralizing, which is tough when you think about it from the other perspective.
As
right?
a D3 football fan, I am demoralized by this because it's like, give me some hope that we're not just going to see the same old dog and pony show again, which we are. It's gonna. I mean, again, they might not even be relevant to talk about until the semifinals. I know I said November, but it might be semifinals at this point.
It is crazy. You look at the history of this matchup, and I guess kind of the rivalry in particular. North Central has won the last 4 dating back to 2021. But before that, fellas, Wheaton had won the previous 4 games in this matchup. So while, we are relatively new on the scene in terms of covering Division III football, in our experience, it has been so one-sided in North Central. Right. But for people prior to us, it could have felt totally the opposite. From 2016 to 19, Wheaton won every single set of these matchups. And let me tell you something. There's a few of these that weren't even close the other way. And obviously North Central, their prominence has been after COVID. Of course, this team has really come alive. But this has been a rivalry very back and forth. And in the long history of things, you look at the all-in-all like combined record of this one, it's pretty split. Pretty split, fellas. Wheaton actually leads the all-time record, 55 wins to 48 losses for the Thunder, 3 ties along the way. So it is, I think, important at some points to take a big picture. Every great rivalry has these ebbs and flows. Right now, we're just at the bottom of one of those. Or at the top, depending on what sideline you sit on. Right?
Yeah.
But I hate it. I hate it right now.
Okay,
I hate it. I don't care. I'm so over it.
Yeah, Seth, I'm with you, dude.
This sucks. I wish the gap wasn't so big. We need a salary cap on this thing. But damn, I just want somebody to step up. Illinois Wesleyan, let's go. Let's do something by the end of the year. Let's pack it in. Let's pull out all the stops. Let's do something. But yeah.
We'll talk one that this game has not been around for nearly the 100-plus years of that matchup that we talked about. But dare I argue, potentially, it's still new, still fresh, a better trophy than the Little Brass Bell. We're talking, of course, about the 2nd annual Breakfast Bowl coming up, boys. Rowan taking on Montclair State. This is the 2nd Breakfast Bowl. It'll be at Montclair this week. Montclair State, excuse me. A game for food naming rights. And the short on this one is that they've got these 2 teams up here in the Northeast that are, I think, just kind of came together and said, hey, let's make something of this game. And they've got this, it's a pork roll versus, I'm blanking on the other name of it, but basically the naming rights to a very popular sandwich in that
I believe it's the Taylor
region.
Ham.
There it is. You've got it. Thank you. And they've come together to create this rivalry and create this game, but then they've also added on to that, as people in D3 football do, a good cause. Fans can support the cause, vote for the Rowan and the pork roll from October 6th through October 11th by making a donation to support The Shop, which is Rowan's on-campus food pantry and resource center dedicated to serving students. So it is a kind of a neat deal in that a lot of these games do end up becoming a little bit more, I don't want to say meaningful, but a little bit more all-encompassing when you talk about the community impact of this one, boys. But Breakfast Bowl is a pretty sweet trophy to play for as well. I'll get a picture up here in a second, but it's basically a pig with wings.
That's so sweet.
I
That's
love
awesome.
this. I love this. Give me all the bowl games. Give me all the trophy games. I think every team that's played like more than 10 times or so should play for some kind of trophy. I just love it. Being an Iowa fan or growing up in the state of Iowa, they got like trophy games with everybody. So I wish there was more of that. Like I love this. I hope there's more teams that do that. I love it, especially when it's for a good cause like this is. So I love, especially a pig with wings. Like, give me a break.
Yes. Yep, it is. It's awesome. That's a look at the trophy. You see Rowan, the props. They took it last year. They won the inaugural game 16-10 in overtime on their homecoming. So turned out to be an incredible game. Also was very fun. I can only imagine what the conversations were like when actually putting together that trophy. Like the brain trust that came together and decided like, hey, we're going to have a pig does not suffice on a podium. He's got to fly too.
Yeah.
That needs to happen.
I wonder if they're insinuating that the pig is dead and that it's like an angel because it's like a pig breakfast sandwich, obviously, and like it could just be like, you know what I'm saying? Like a pig with wings. I don't know. That's just what
Jimmy,
came to my
I
mind.
love where you just took that, man.
You know what I'm
like
saying?
that
Like,
is
maybe
like
there's, like,
the
a
most
secret meaning
absurd
behind
thing
it.
I've ever heard.
You know what? Yeah, we might have to ask about that one. Might just have to go get right from the source.
Maybe.
I want Jimmy to ask that specifically.
maybe I
Is
will.
this a dead pig that's gone to pig heaven? Like, I don't
For the sake
know.
of the sandwiches, of course. It was for a good cause.
It is. The game is aiming to tackle food insecurity in New Jersey, with the donations being accepted for such. That pig may have been the first of many donations towards that good cause.
More of a sacrifice, if we might.
Okay, that was another word, certainly that you could use. But a really cool deal there, and again, a cool kind of maybe tradition in the making from those two teams that I certainly think is worth mentioning, fellas. And we'll talk some more kind of scores around the league here in a little bit. But some of the biggest news that broke in Division III football just recently is not on the football field, but rather the money that goes towards making the football facilities and making that student-athlete experience better. In DePauw, down in Indiana, the Tigers got an $80 million gift from an anonymous donor. An alumni of the university gave $80 million to the Tigers to create a 70,000 square foot athletic stadium and sports performance center. I'll give you a ton of more information and details about that in a second. Initial reactions, $80 million towards what will be undoubtedly one of the best, if not the best, in all of D3 football.
I mean, boys, like the River Falls facility was $66 million when they first put that thing over.
And that's all encompassing.
That's all. You're right. Like this is going to be.
We got basketball and volleyball that play in there. The hockey arena. You got all these locker rooms.
I mean, this is going to be absolutely insane. Like, and to do it anonymously, like, shout out to whoever this dude is or lady is. Like, this is.
Yes.
I mean, to do it as an anonymous, like, you would have to put my name on everything. Like, you'd have to name the damn team. You'd have to call it the Seth Howard UW River Falls football team. Like, this is just, I mean, shout out to this individual. DePauw is already like an absolute weapon of a team. You've seen what they're doing, across that conference so far, but they're about to be even better, boys.
They certainly are. They've been dominant. They absolutely have. In their stadium right now, as I try to get at least a decent photo of it, it's not that it's lackluster in the sense of like it certainly fits in terms of what you imagine when you think of a Division III stadium, but it's certainly leaves some to be desired for a team that right now ranks among the best in all of Division III football, boys. This is a look at the current setup here. Blackstock Stadium opened in 1941, most recently renovated in 97, so it's been more than a quarter of a century before this thing has gotten kind of its latest big facelift. Certainly feels like time to maybe reinvest. That's certainly what the Tigers are thinking, and certainly what John Doe, as we will refer to he/she as, of the big-time donation, that's what they're thinking as well. So that's a current look at Blackstock Stadium. Now, that stadium, boys, it's getting demolished in August of 2026. The timing on that, very, very interesting. August of 26, as soon as you kind of get rolling into camp here, by the way, your stadium's gone. The new stadium not scheduled to open, at least now, until 2028. So you're talking about 2 seasons without a potential place to play football. The school, at least from what I could tell, has not said where the Tigers will play home games in 26 and 27 seasons. They got to have a plan in place, though, before making an announcement like this, you'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you got to imagine they have like a really nice high school field booked up or something.
Sure.
But man, you got to feel for those juniors and seniors a little bit who have like played all these years and like they finally get to play at their home stadium and not. Oh, nope, no, you don't.
Correct.
But I mean, you got to make a decision at some point. You're gonna make this stadium. It's gonna be great in the future. But I mean, you're still gonna empathize with these guys who are not gonna get to play on this old stadium. It kind of
from the coaching perspective. Like, I mean, you have all you need to recruit against anybody in that area.
Sure.
It's like, oh, we're going to have an $80 million facility. Now, this current class that's coming in, you're not going to see that shit till, your junior year. But regardless, like,
but you're going to see it, right? If everything goes to plan, that's the crazy thing is like, yeah, we're going to show you a rendering, but you're going to see, you come to DePauw, you're going to see this in person. That's something that's really difficult for a lot of these teams is you might see this. Not to throw anyone under the bus here. Went to a visit at Lawrence Tech, and they said, yeah, man, check out we got this idea for this incredible new facility, locker room, the renders, everything's already, we're in motion. Safe to say, I am 2 years removed from college, playing any type of college football. Yet to happen.
It's a hard thing to promise. Like, you can't.
It is.
It is, but like, if you say, hey, we're going to do this, and then you don't, it's like, well, double birds to you, man. I'm going to go to Northern Michigan. Like, let's do this thing. So, I mean, but to actually like say, hey, we got this $80 million gift for this facility. Like, we're doing it. That's sick.
Yeah, no, it's a cool deal. I talked about it. 70,000 square foot is insane. It's really hard to actually picture that in my head. I feel like we need to do like a size comparison type of deal in terms of like known structures and things. The gift, though, the $80 million, one of the largest single gifts in the institution's nearly 200-year history, and among the most significant in NCAA Division III athletics across the board. And fellas, a wild thing that I saw is their new performance center. Not the way it's built, but how it will be run in the future. It will run on next-generation sustainable energy. A 250-ton geothermal system will provide, quote, efficient, environmentally friendly heating and cooling, and it will reduce emissions and reliance on fossil fuels.
Whatever that means.
Kudos to the great people of Greencastle, Indiana that know so much more about any of us about how you even start to put that together, but it is really sweet that apparently that thought was at the forefront of the construction and the conception of this building, man.
They should be smart and do it on grass, though. They should put some nice little grass down there, but they won't. So,
if we learned anything about putting together new buildings, they better make sure the site is not polluted. Shout out Arden Hills and the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Hashtag Jabo's fun fact.
Jabo.
Let's talk a little bit, fellas, about some other scores from around the country, and as I pick up some that we can talk about a little bit. Anything else that you think we missed here that definitely is worth mentioning in our rundown?
Stout beating Eau Claire. I know Seth made a pretty bold prediction.
There it is.
Live
Dude, I really thought Eau Claire was gonna have something going.
You thought I was gonna get you away with that. Actually, I was ready to have the clip pulled up, but I didn't want to do that to you, Seth. But Seth was emphatically
all about it.
He was emphatically predicting, like with so much passion in his heart, that Eau Claire was going to win that game. And I was sitting there like biting my lip. I'm like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about right now. Because for one thing, like, was I surprised it was a 25-point game? A little bit. Because like Eau Claire had looked pretty good, but like, by no means did I ever think Stott was going to lose that football game.
Sure.
This was not in the realm of possibility for me. Again, like, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has bad picks, but like I could have let that one slide, Seth. I couldn't do it.
Oh, I would have. Hey, I would have respected it if you did, and I respect you that you didn't as well. But give me a point over Stout here in a few weeks.
Oh boy, here we go again. Here we go again, dude.
Give me everybody over Stout the rest of the year.
Good.
One I think is definitely worth mentioning, fellas. John Carroll, who sits at number 16 right now, they took down Wabash in a game that you look at that, the Little Giants, the Tigers have been the teams in that conference for a long time. JCU, they come in, they shake things up in the conference standings, 31-28. The margin of victory is slim, but a win is a win is a win. And now that matchup here in just 2 weeks against DePauw certainly feels like a pseudo-conference championship game there. So a lot of interesting implications down there. And as we look forward, a couple other kind of teams, a lot of teams kind of took care of business this weekend. I think we touched on the big ones. Cortland, though, does handle Utica 28-13. That was one that felt like Utica, the Moose, they could have maybe been surprising in that way. I think they had some good momentum and some good things going there, but nonetheless, not quite enough. We talked a little bit about Christopher Newport, their quarterback, Connor Berry, but they picked up a 49-41 win in 2 overtimes over that Rowan team that'll be taking part in the Breakfast Bowl this coming week, boys. So that was a big one. And then something worth mentioning, we were really high on this Hampton-Sydney team.
Yeah,
that's
someone I'm
was stringing
disappointed
together
about too.
Some really quality wins and felt like finally cracked the top 25, had a lot of good things going. They get taken down by Washington and Lee this week. 42-34 in a shootout, boys.
Yeah, I was really hoping like we'd see Randolph-Macon versus, this Hampton-Sydney team at the end of the year. But, yeah, good run. It's over now.
Good run.
Definitely one that we should have maybe talked about for sure. St. John Fisher takes down Brockport in overtime, 31-24. A Brockport team that has had one of the better defenses in the Northeast and been a really just quality squad in general. St. John Fisher, man, got some things going in the right direction. And if I remember correctly, yes, Ed Raby Jr., the former Morrisville coach, he took the head job there in February. So he's got those boys rolling, it looks like. Friend of the show. The Morrisville, you guys have remember the Mustangs, they have the black turf up there in New York.
I love
Oh,
it.
yeah, I know
Either
we
you guys
talked
see
about
that
that.
one?
Yeah.
That's got to be hot.
So-
That was an old
Gotta be
episode,
hot.
dude. That was from a couple years ago, it felt like.
Yep, Ed Raby is the man. He is the new head coach over there at St. John Fisher. So a big time win for him, boys. But
Huge.
that feels like about it.
Yeah. Wow, I think we're going to make it. I put in the rundown. I was typing phones at 1%. I might make it.
Join the show tonight, linebacker for the Lions down at Florida Memorial. Not the first Lion, hopefully not the last to grace us on this show. They just pulled off their first win in program history over a ranked opponent. Feels like a big-time deal, dude. Joining the show tonight, joining D1R, Kareem Roberts. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Hey, it's good to be here, man. Doing fine.
Hell yeah, excited to have you on here, man. Big W on the road. They say defense travels. What about that group stepped up on Saturday, man?
And defense this week, man, I ain't gonna lie. This week, this was the most gelled we've been in. Like, mind you, I had to sit out the game, ejection. I had to sit out the whole second half. So seeing my guys go on that field and do what they had to do, like, this was absolute perfect performance.
Yep. Talk me through that. I was curious to ask about that kind of roller coaster of emotions, right? With a call like that, you come out of the game and you're an active participant gone to a spectator like that, right? It's a very, very quick switch. Talk me through that roller coaster of emotions and how you try and stay involved as a good teammate there throughout the course of that game.
I mean, coming off the field, yeah, it was kind of disappointing and everything. Like, I feel like I let my team down, honestly. So I had to go inside, make sure I had my head straight, and then I came back out. It let me know it was good for me to come back out. So as long as I can keep my team uplifted and keep us going on to the mission, as long as we get the win, that's all that mattered to me. And it was great to see that that guy got up off the ground.
Yep. 100%, man. And, you guys got punched in the mouth early. First quarter, this thing was 10-0, right? And it could have gone a lot of different ways from that standpoint. What can you say about the composure of this team to stick in it, bounce back the way you guys did?
I mean, yeah, we can't let mistakes define us. We can always bend, but we won't break. So as long as we kept each other going and everything, kept each other uplifted, that was the biggest thing.
100%. This is not the only bounce back of 2025. This is a team that started 0-2, and now you've beaten 2 really solid opponents back to back. The momentum shift is certainly a real one. The vibe and energy shifting in the building. What has changed in your eyes about this squad, the way they've handled themselves?
I feel like we was there in the beginning. It took a little time. A lot of guys had to get more. You know, you had a lot of new guys, so a lot of new guys had to come into the program and get into the pride. They had to really get, and what's the word I want to use for it? Just like I was saying in the beginning, had to get gelled in. So I feel like we always had it. It's just minor mistakes that kept us from getting them wins early in the season. But after that, we kept our heads high and we came through. That's the only plan for the rest of the season.
That you did, man. And we had Coach Rome on the show a while back, but I want to talk about Coach Jones, right? He's been a part of this program, not necessarily an outsider coming in and picking up the reins, but this is his first year in that head coach role. So talk to me, you know, this feels like a statement win for the quote-unquote inaugural season with Coach Jones. How have the guys responded to some new face on the staff, and how has he got this thing trending in the right direction in your eyes?
And from the beginning, back when I was here my freshman year, Coach Jones always been a coach, been a guy that's always about the mission. Now that he's a head coach, he has more say-so in such things and all that. So whatever he say, I'm behind it. Whatever he want, you feel me? I try to make sure I do my best as a leader to do whatever he asks for. And he bring the energy every practice. He makes sure we don't lack in any minor details. If we missing something, he's for to talk about it, and we for to get back onto it right now. So he definitely been changing around the coaching staff. So the energy and everything, the team definitely respect him.
That Sun Conference down there feels pretty loaded in 2025. What can you say about playing in that league? Feels like you guys have some top-level competition. I mean, these next couple weeks are going to show it, right? That conference feels like it's got some really solid squads throughout in 2025. How has that forced you guys maybe to up your game to make sure you compete and stay at the top?
And we're going to take this week by week. So every week we're going to prep. We're going to make sure the preparation there, and we're going to game plan for the team. We ain't really worrying about the competition because
sure. At
the end, I feel like I know for a fact we are better skilled guys in every category. It would just took us a little minute, feel me, just get more discipline. That was our biggest thing. But skill-wise, I'm not saying anybody gonna come out here and just scrap it out, just get us out of the way or beat us. Like it's gonna be hard. And now that we're a more disciplined team, it's gonna be very much difficult.
I got you, man. Now that the Hail Mary attempt to close out that one, you guys holding your breath on the sideline for that, or what? Walk me through that.
Say it one more time. That
Hail Mary attempt to close out the game on Saturday. You guys holding your breath on the sideline there, or what?
Nah, man. We knew the game was over with.
Okay.
We knew the game was over with. They wanted one more try, so we that's all they could do.
Yeah. Yeah, man. The interception to close it out too, right? Grabs it down in the end zone. I feel like there's always a coach somewhere on the sideline just like, bat it down. Like, please don't even try. Just take it and put it into the ground. Like, don't even try and catch the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
initially that would probably been the best response to that ball being up in the air.
Yeah.
But you know, we got some guys back there, so Darius made sure that ball didn't get into nobody else's hands besides his. So as long as he closed that game out, that's all that we was worried about.
We got some former hoopers on that like defensive victory formation, or what?
Say it again.
We got some like former hoopers on that defensive victory formation, guys who can go up and get the ball out of the air, or what?
Oh yeah, like Darius. So that's about, you feel me? Darius. So we got some new guys. Other than that, we got Jan Lewis. That's pretty much that guy that we have, but new guys got Macmillan, Jahar. So we got some.
I love it, man. And we talked about the level of play in the Sun Conference. You guys, you get a real test this coming weekend, right? Kaiser, number 2 team in the country, coming into town to take you guys on. What are you looking forward to proving this weekend against the Seahawks?
What I'm looking forward to prove is that we're number 1. We're going to be number 1, and at the end of the day, hey, we're going to just go clash. That's all that's going to happen. We're going to put our best 11 versus their best 11. So the only thing we hoping is that Kaiser bring it on because we coming.
I love it, man. Hey, if you want to – a lot of people say that, right? Say you want to be number 1, but you got to go and do it, right? And obviously that's your goal, man. To be the best, you got to beat them. And The great situation that you guys have is you get that opportunity, right? There's a lot of teams that say that, and they might go and they might just not have that look, right? They might not have a top-level team in the country coming into town. So definitely an exciting deal for you guys. But what do you think the biggest change has been with this team in 2025? Talked about maybe a little bit of the slow start. You talk about that rightening of the discipline. How have you guys been able to maybe become a more disciplined group, and have you seen that carry over to Saturdays, maybe with things like less penalties, more communication on either side of the ball? How has that worked?
Yeah, one thing I do that changed in the midst was we have a lot of younger guys. And one thing about these younger guys, these guys listen. I feel like one thing we had an issue with is that everyone was clashing heads. Nobody wanted to listen to nobody. But this group right here, everybody want to get better. We're not looking for it to be stagnant. Everybody got bigger aspirations when it comes to this football stuff. So these guys want to buy in. And my job as a captain and the other captain's job, we got to keep leading this. No matter the losses, no matter nothing, we got to keep going forward and keep doing our 111.
Man, well said, my friend. Well said. Love that. And you're absolutely right. Nothing like you talked about those bigger aspirations. You guys got that in common. There's a lot of things you can overlook when you got a common mission and a common goal, and that's what make the game so beautiful, brother. That's all I got for you tonight. Anything else you want to add, my man?
And hey, go Lions. We coming this Saturday, 1 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your night. All right, in the NAIA portion of tonight's show, we're going to kick things off, of course, with our Walter Camp Gridiron 1880 Players of the Week. And, Matt, we had a couple that were ridiculous. Carlos Collazo here from Concordia, the running back. 39 carries, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. Believe he set a couple program records inside of that game as well.
Yeah, certainly setting multiple program records for, I believe, yardage, potentially also rushing touchdowns. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I know for a fact it was a record-breaking day for a Concordia team that continues to roll. They had a very high-scoring win against the Mount Marty Lancers, who've also been on a bit of a hot streak lately. I guess now that turns cold after Concordia is done with them, but the 52-43 win with Carlos here, leading the way in an insanely impressive effort. Pushing 300 yards on the ground is just something you don't see in football very often nowadays, and it's correct. It's really impressive to be able to do so.
Bulldogs absolutely rolling. On the other side, I had a couple defensive players that we had to give a nod to, man. Chris Swain, first of all, the linebacker from St. Xavier, 18 tackles, jumps off the stat book. That's ridiculous. I actually think someone came in my DMs and said he had like 30. And so while I knew they were probably being somewhat facetious, I had to go look. I had to go check it out. 18's pretty damn close. A sack, a forced fumble, interception, and a PBU all in the same game. I almost ran out of space on the graphic, man.
Yeah, I mean, when you're flying all over the place like Chris Swain was this weekend, it's hard to be able to quantify that. This guy's literally doing everything for a surging St. Xavier team that I think we're going to be able to talk about a bit more as the season continues, and they kind of have a stretch down the way that's going to be interesting to see how they do. But when Chris Swain is putting up numbers like that, your defense is in great hands, and they'll certainly ride that the rest of the way.
They certainly should. And the other one that we had to pick was a team in the Vikings that we haven't talked about too much this year over at Valley City State. This is a squad that, they had a big-time performance this week. Fafa Lufano, 2 tackles, and then 3 takeaways. Had a fumble recovery that he actually picked up and brought back for 6 for the touchdown, and then 2 interceptions through the air. A line like this and an impact player like this in a game, that was an important one. You can't leave him off the list.
No, absolutely not. Being able to force that many turnovers and get your team the ball back and even score points as a defensive player in pretty much any capacity is impressive. But when you combine that all together, get 3 total takeaways and one of them's for a score, that's absolutely ridiculous. Those are big momentum plays that just swing the game in your favor. And it was very obvious that Valley City had the momentum in that one. So.
Yeah, definitely was the case. And, you look at that. They didn't even pull out the win, too. That's what's crazy about that. That was a 10-point loss to what we've come to find out is a pretty solid Rocky Mountain College team. And they've played the gauntlet. They've played a ridiculous schedule, so we haven't really maybe seen the caliber of this squad. We know they've got a quality squad. You open up the Frontier play with them, but it's still a 10-point loss, and your defense is able to generate 3 turnovers, one of them going for a touchdown. you could either take it one of two ways. The offensive side from this VCSU team only got 14 points on the board, and they struggled even when they had a short field. Or you could take it as RMC's really got something going on, and they are absolutely rolling over there. So it can kind of tale of both different ways. And then in our special teams department, Steven Linen from Dort, 3 of 4 on field goals on the day, but his longest came from 60 yards out for the Defenders, who are sporting a new logo, by the way. Just realized that as I was putting this graphic together. Shout out the Defenders. 15 total points on the day for him. But in my book, anything over 50 puts you into consideration automatically for this kind of weekly award. 60 is damn near a lock, I feel like.
Yeah, especially at the NAIA level, you don't really see guys consistently making them past 40, 45, truthfully. But being able to have guys like this who can put up 60-yarders, operate on an efficient clip. I mean, Dort has just been extremely efficient all season long, and it goes to show it's in all 3 phases of the game. Special teams matters too. And it's just incredible that we have kickers in the NAIA that are kicking this far, because what does that say for, you know, the pro level? What does that say for anything beyond the NAIA? Like, that's just ridiculous how good kickers in general are getting. And now that's trickling down to where we see cool stuff like this happen. So I'm all for it.
Yes, it is. And there's a couple games we'll talk about later where that would have been absolutely 0% chance of that happening because of the conditions that some of these teams were playing in. But before we get there, let's go down to the Sunshine State. I do believe they call it down there in Florida. Florida Memorial, they get their first program win versus a ranked opponent, number 10 Southeastern, 28-23. Had the linebacker on talking about this matchup and a team that has kind of been a tale of two halves of 2025 for this Florida Memorial team. You start 0-2, and you've rattled off, and we'll talk about it, 2 back-to-back really impressive wins. Feels like they're starting to piece things together at the right time, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention, too, when Southeastern gets the initial punch in this game, and you're just assuming that it's going to be Southeastern being able to close this out, and then Florida Memorial comes back with 14 points in the second quarter. Granted, they were still down by 3, 17-14 at half, but that goes to show that Florida Memorial was in it pretty much the entire time. Yep. It was a dual effort from the backfield with Nigel Osborne and Gerard Sims combining for 147 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And ultimately, what gets it done for Florida Memorial is a 2-minute drill with 20 seconds left, scoring a touchdown to take the 28-23 lead, which would eventually be the final score. And now we're kind of left wondering about this Florida Memorial team with an impressive win like that. Where do they go from here? Like you mentioned, they have over Southeastern now. They have also really impressive win over Cumberland from the week before. And even in their losses, they've been pretty competitive. Like Reinhardt's not a pushover. Definitely a down year for them, but still a good team. And they battled Clark, I believe, Division III or Division II school pretty well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this performance affects Florida Memorial, especially when they take on Kaiser this coming weekend.
Talking about this, and microphone, chill out. Talking about this Florida Memorial team, man, and I kind of talked about it, the 2 losses to start the season, and now you're starting to roll. They get a really good litmus test in that Kaiser team we talk about coming into town, and that'll be very telling. I kind of equate it maybe similarly to a team like William Penn, that obviously had put some statement wins under their belts early, and then they got that true test that we'll talk about here in a little bit against the Grandview team. Off the top of your head right now, similar showing versus Kaiser. What is the expectation for this Lions squad?
Yeah, that's always the worry with teams that are surging like this when they string together wins, is that, first of all, these are hard wins to put together. Obviously, these are very tightly contested, emotional games, and week after week, like that wears on a team. And having to keep up those performances can wear on you mentally and physically. But obviously, we've seen the trend to be that these teams fizzle out against the top competition. They fizzle out against the Kaisers of the world, against the Grandviews of the world. So I'm curious to see if Florida Memorial can get it done. It is at Florida Memorial, which is definitely in their favor, being the hosts there, which could play a factor. But Kaiser has also proven to kind of shut down the worries of them potentially being nipped from behind by a team like Florida Memorial. Which, while still very good, like there are levels to this. I'd imagine Kaiser wins that game, but I would not be surprised if Florida Memorial keeps it close for most of it.
Okay, so maybe a little bit more of a competitive one than we'll talk about here in a little bit out there in Iowa. But let's first, before we go out to Iowa, let's talk about this Mayville State team, man. And we had Coach Larson on the show not too long ago, a guy who I really enjoyed, who is also the athletic director out there for the Comets, which is a really kind of neat / concerning ordeal, depending on how you look at it in small school football and small school athletics. They end a losing streak to Dickinson State that had spanned 14 years, 19 different games, depending on how you look at it. Either way, it was a long time. They finally got their get back, though. Tell me about this Comet squad.
Yeah, the Comets were extremely impressive in this one. A Dickinson State team that's had their way with pretty much all these North Star teams for who knows how long. Like we mentioned, the Mayville State win streak was 14 games dating back to 2011. I'm sure a lot of them are similar to that mark when you talk about Valley City State and other teams from that conference. But Mayville State really got it done off the back of the ground and pound, which set up their big shot plays, which is really fun to see. Mayville State obviously running the wing T, the double wing, which is always really intriguing to see that in action in 2025. But they make it work. And the drop back passes, the big plays were there. Marcuson, their quarterback, hitting Spaeth for 3 catches for 103 yards and a touchdown. Big play after big play after big play, which was set up by their running back room by committee that was just being efficient on the ground. Also tying it at the end of the contest with a 12-play, 65-yard, 8-minute and 5-second drive.
Unreal.
To send it to overtime. You cannot ask for more clutch, efficient performance from your offense there. And then it goes into triple overtime, which I haven't seen in a while in the NAIA. This is where you go to the 2-point shootout rules that you see at higher levels of college football. And ultimately what gets it done is a jet sweep motion one way that goes into the option to the boundary, pitch it out to your running back. Running back beats the defense to the corner to go up 34-32. The Comets defense gets it done, to prevent the following scoring attempt. And Mayville State with one of their most impressive wins in recent memory, and Dickinson State loses to go down to 2-3, which is really
and Dakota State did have a decent little showing this weekend, even in a loss, I would say. But talking about these squads, first win since 2011, we talked about it for this Mayville team, and that overtime deal. I want to talk about that a little bit, right? We've seen that at some of the maybe the bigger FBS type instances. Kind of forgot, honestly, that was a rule for a long time. And when you get and progress further into those overtimes, when you're going back to watch some of this, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, no, they just line up right there, and we just have at it for the 2 points, and we just go, and we talk about with the heavyweight type matchups, whoever swings last is the one that literally you just get up there and you swing and you swing and you swing, and eventually one team will be left standing. Thankfully for them, it's the Comets this time around. And usually I'm a fan of, you saw on the play that kind of clinched it for this team, I'm a fan of rolling the quarterback out, giving him the option to throw, option to use his legs, especially in an instance where it is one play, all or nothing. This time, though, just didn't really feel like there were any valid options. I don't know if there was just a great schematic call from this Mayville side, or I don't know exactly what that looked like, but really nowhere to go with this football. Tried to force it in by the pylon and just had nothing to go with that. But man, Marcuson, 6 of 12 passing, 144. Not exactly a crazy day through the air, but that seems to be the calling card of this Comets team that is now 4-2, I believe. So we're talking about a team and a program that has been pretty quickly reformed, so to speak, and starting to put together some really important building blocks there at Valley City State this week, which I think actually is going to be a really great game. I think that's, maybe not on the national slate, something that'll be talked about ad nauseum, but two teams that I feel are at somewhat similar points and should be if nothing else, a very defensive battle, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I think that'll be an interesting one. And Mayville State kind of benefiting from this frontier move. Dickinson State is absolutely not. This is their 3rd straight loss. They lost to Carroll, then they lost to Montana Western, and now they've lost to Mayville State. It's not going so well for them, and I think it's really interesting as the season continues on to see how these former North Star teams are doing in the face of this frontier competition. We're seeing teams rise to it. We're seeing teams fall to that standard. Like you said, Dakota State, while they had a decent showing, still did ultimately get beat by Montana Tech, who's very, very good. And they're going to have more contests like that coming up. So it's going to be interesting to see how that narrative kind of shifts as the season continues.
The annexation of the North Star. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it was like a 20-point loss or so for that Dakota State team. With a couple big like key turnovers and things they were able to generate, and even still kind of that margin. To me, I was actually genuinely impressed with that Dakota State side. I didn't know they were going to be able to put up that many points against Montana Tech. The problem was the defense did more than that. They let up a little too much to keep it in the game. But one that, again, was a big part of the national slate, maybe didn't turn out to be a competitive game, so to speak. Grandview, they're proving they're still number one, still absolutely top dog. This William Penn team out there, they're in the same state. This is not necessarily, at least in my eyes, I don't think there's any kind of rivalry or big-time tradition between these two programs, but something where both of them, nationally ranked programs, Grandview comes out and dominates. And it wasn't necessarily from the jump, but once they got a hold of it, it was never looking back.
Yeah, and Grandview's defense was what jumped out to me at this one. They forced 3 interceptions to no passing touchdowns. They hold Destin Loring to just 45 total yards rushing, 2.6 yards per carry. That's not what William Penn is used to happening, especially with Loring kind of being the driving force of their offense. And ultimately, William Penn doesn't score a touchdown until it's too late in the fourth quarter. On offense, it was just Grandview throughout the entire game once they got rolling. There's just levels to this, like
yes.
William Penn is still a very, very good team. I don't want anybody to walk away from looking at the box score or looking at the highlights and thinking that William Penn's a bad football team. They're not. They're like legitimately still a top 25 squad, or at least top 30. It's just Grandview is that good. And I don't know if anybody can really stop them right now. Jackson Waring's potentially going to win a second consecutive Player of the Year award the way he's playing. He had 5 total touchdowns in this game.
Correct.
There's nobody really to slow this team down. They've already beaten Benedictine, who's number 3. They've beaten Baker into submission, basically. We haven't heard much from Baker.
It feels like they have not been revived since that loss.
Yeah, and now a really good William Penn team that they've also beaten. Mid-American Nazarene is the only ranked opponent left on their schedule. And even then, like with Mid-American Nazarene being around the William Penn level, we could see a similar result in that game as well. Like there's just truthfully, they might not get a test to where they're at until into the playoffs.
I agree with you. That Mid-American Nazarene one is one that definitely stands out. You look at defenses in the Hart Conference, and what jumps out right away is Grandview is letting up less than 85 yards per game on the ground. That is an incredible feat, an awesome number, especially considering some of those teams you just mentioned that they've already gotten out of the way on their schedule, teams that have had and done a good job there, already generated 12 turnovers, 9 through the air, 3 on the ground. That defense has been all over the place, 8 sacks. But one of the other better defenses out of this conference is that MNU team. 19 sacks so far for that squad in 2025. That's a number that's got to be one of the best in the country. That's a ridiculous statistic through week 5, 6, wherever the heck we're at right now. But the biggest difference is they're conceding double the yards per game on the ground as this Grandview squad. And as we know, if you can't match up in the trenches, it's going to be really hard to grab footing anywhere else. But that really will be a tale of who can generate more turnovers. Both these teams have already generated more than 10 at this point in the season. Both defenses doing a great job of that. Mid-America doing a great job of getting to the passer. So it might be a challenge for Waring and company there to obviously keep him protected. But how does his decision-making look like when he's got maybe a little bit more of a formidable pass rush? Again, still looking ahead. The moral of the story is Grandview, see you in November.
Yeah, pretty much. And into December, more than likely.
You said December?
Yeah.
Yes. Although I will say, so the Rock and Ladder Trophy, that is the trophy that comes from this matchup. So I was not aware of that one.
Yeah. The ladder.
Pretty sweet little deal. I feel like I learn about a new trophy, whether it's NAIA, D2, or D3. I learn about a new trophy every single week.
Yeah, there's so much interesting rivalry stuff at this level that honestly I don't even really know that much about that I wish I did. But it just goes to show how storied and how far back some of these programs go. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, I was gonna do a little I remember we were talking about D3 last week. I don't know if you saw the Troll Trophy.
I did see
was
that. Dude.
Absolutely
that was sick.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Division III is host to the weirdest ones. Not to say NAIA and D2 obviously have some character as well. But yeah, there's some really interesting ones at the D3 level. But we'll keep going. Matt, let's talk about and go to something a little bit more dare I say true Midwestern type of team. And I know we still got a few weeks until the Francises duke it out, but will the real St. Francis please stand up? Indiana, big time W over Taylor, 49-35, 4 in a row for the Cougs, man.
Yeah, Cougs are looking really, really good right now. This battle was pretty much two super high-powered offenses going at it. Something to note for Taylor going forward as a team that's proven to be a kind of a fringe top 25 squad. Damon Hockett only attempted one pass on the day.
Really?
And did not play the rest of the game. So I don't know what the situation is there. It would appear to be an injury of some kind or something else that is unexplainable to the general viewer.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting to see how Taylor kind of battled through that. Alex Ambergy was still very productive, but ultimately what gets it done for USF Indiana is the 2 interceptions that they forced on Ambergy, especially when the final score was 49-35. Exactly a 2-possession game. Those turnovers end up being what cost you in the end. Both running backs, both Wallace for St. Francis and Parker for Taylor, had very efficient days. Wallace went for 137 and a touchdown. Parker goes for 132 and 2 touchdowns. And Josh Kolka, not to mention, also getting it done through the air with 5 touchdowns on the day. And each pass was to a different receiver.
Yes.
Spread the ball
That's actually
around.
the most incredible part of that stat, I think, being able to distribute. You might not have a guy, but this is a wide receiver room by committee. Taylor won the time possession battle by 7 minutes. That is no small feat. You started the game 14-0. You go into half tied at 14. That right there is dropping the ball. And I understand, like you talked about, maybe without your dude under center, so to speak, but that offensive backfield's got other pieces, right? We've talked about some of those guys on this program. And so for a program like this to get the start that they had and kind of piss down their leg in the first half and let this USF team claw their way back into it, to be fair, this is a Cougar team that is not unable to play from behind. Some teams that we talk about on this show, you might get them in an uncomfortable situation when they're down by a couple possessions. This USF squad is certainly not that. Their style of play is one that they can be back in the game in just a couple series. But really, that was probably the biggest piece for me is they got ahead, Taylor did, by multiple scores, and didn't really do anything with it because 60-yard touchdown pass was like a kind of a key turning point, first score for this USF squad, and then they were rolling. You gave them a little bit of hope, and the 3 turnovers, you talked about it, that was a big part of that.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about Kolka a lot already this season, but he is just absolutely the driving force for this team. The way that he is able to put up that passing production to get them back into it in those big plays, that 60-yard touchdown you mentioned, like pure momentum, pure adrenaline for the rest of that team off the back of Kolka. I'm really curious to see how they do down the stretch, and especially with some of their bigger tests coming up. It's going to be really fun to see how this team finishes out the season.
Yeah, and we look at that week 1 type matchup versus Campbellsville, a 3-point loss at home. All of a sudden, that's not looking so bad. The way the Tigers are playing, that's looking like a very, again, if you're a coach, you don't give a shit about this next word, but a quality loss. Right? That's starting to look like a very quality loss for this USF squad. And you look forward, again, at Madonna, okay. At Marion, sure, that could get interesting. Marion may be trending in a different direction than this USF squad right now, but still, you got Marion, St. Xavier, Olivet Nazarene kind of back to back right there. You said it. One of those could sneak up and grab you and pull you under, and we just don't know which one at any given point. That Olivet Nazarene offense has certainly taken off the last couple of weeks, and then you get the Battle of the Francises November 8th.
The France Eye.
That'll be an interesting one.
Well.
Yeah, the France Eye. I like that. The France Eye battle, November 8th. With the Fighting Saints. So, yes, still a lot to prove for this USF squad, but in terms of conference play and playoff hopes and everything, very much still in front of them.
Yep, looking really good in that regard. So excited to see how it rounds out for them.
Let's talk about that Campbellsville team. That was one of the picks from our small school Saturday show this week, and 49-34 over Cumberland's, a game that I guess I I don't know if I expected it to have that kind of fireworks offensively.
Yeah, well, certainly when you have Trey Bass go for 200 plus rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and also 115 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns to total 5. That's 5 touchdowns on the day by Trey Bass. Yeah, you're going to see those fireworks. This guy was all over the place in one of the most impressive offensive performances I've seen in a while, truthfully. And Campbellsville just looks kind of like a wagon right now. That matchup against Lindsey Wilson that's coming up is going to be really, really intriguing to see how the Mid-South kind of shakes out, because I have a feeling that's going to be your top spot right there. And per the rankings, it certainly looks to be that way. But Campbellsville is looking really impressive. I know that they probably would have liked to give up less than 34 points, but ultimately it's still a convincing win that you're able to put up that many points, be that efficient, and have a guy like Trey Bass who at any given moment can account for 5 touchdowns on his own.
100%. The next one I'm going to talk about is one that I'm proud to say I actually pulled and predicted on the show. I don't know what came over me. This Hastings team, they bring down Northwestern 10-9. You'll talk about it a little bit, man. I'll let you tee it up and talk about this one. This is I think that score, a 10-9 score, is exactly what we've come to expect inside of this conference. But what went into that, Matt?
Yeah, certainly doesn't help when there are 35 to 45 mile per hour winds in Orange City, Iowa. Not going to bode well. Not to mention it was Northwestern's homecoming. I don't think it could have gone worse for them, truthfully. Not able to produce a single touchdown. All of their points came off field goals. The winds obviously playing a major factor in that, but still, when your running back is averaging less than 3 yards a carry in a game where you really need that production, it's ultimately not going to bode well for you, especially when the final touchdown, the only touchdown in this game, is scored on defense by Hastings towards the end of the game. Just not an ideal situation. I will say Giovanni Kabongo, the kicker for Northwestern.
Shout out.
He did go 3 for 5, and he made a 52, a 58, and a 31-yarder in those wins, which is extremely impressive.
That's ridiculous.
Ultimately missed a 51-yarder and a 65-yarder, which I think is a little cruel to send somebody out there for. But hey, maybe the wins were behind him, so I can get behind that logic.
Yeah, right. It's always kind of fun when you see the kickers go out and whether it's at half or whatever, and they want to test themselves. When you get a little bit of that to see, like, hey, any given day, like what can I get after today? What's a feasible number for me today with a little bit of help?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a big one for me, though. This Hastings squad, before this game, already had committed 14 turnovers on the year. It was rampant, a very bad issue. What did they do? Cleaned it up in a big way, man. From what I can tell, did not turn the ball over, had the interception, big-time takeaway defensively. It's every coach's keys to the game ever is don't turn the ball over, don't shoot ourselves in the foot. And they did that. They did exactly that, cleaned it up, and they pick up a 1-point, really gritty win. And again, this is everyone's year that Northwestern, you take your best shot, because this is the best chance you're going to have potentially for a while at the Red Raiders. Take your best shot right now, get a little get back for the last decade, and they've taken advantage of that. But going on the list, Evangel, 7-6 homecoming win over Kansas Wesleyan, 2 kind of fringe top 25 teams, and talk about a slugfest.
Yeah, this is real defense. There's no wind involved in this one. These were just 2 teams beating the crap out of each other. Ultimately, an 18-yard touchdown pass by Reed Potts under 10 minutes to go will seal the victory for Evangel. And by any means necessary, right? 7-6 might as well be 70-6. A win at the end of the day is still a win. Evangel certainly rebounding from their loss to Friends the week prior, where they got run over a little bit. So good to see them back on track. Kansas Wesleyan obviously receiving votes, still a very competitive team. But that was a fun matchup. It really was.
Seems to be commonplace for anyone playing the Falcons. But how about Concordia? 52-43 over Mount Marty. These 2 teams offensively couldn't have done it in more drastically different ways.
Yeah, especially like we had mentioned, Carlos beforehand being our offensive player of the week off of almost 300 yards rushing. And then on the flip side for Mount Marty, Rugby Riken goes 45 completions on 74 passing attempts for 400 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception in what, like you said, could not be more black and white, decisively different ways of running an offense, but they proved that they both work in some capacity, with Concordia ultimately grabbing the win there. Kind of an interesting spot for Concordia now, because with the win over Mount Marty and with how Northwestern's fallen, they've really locked in that 3rd spot in the conference until proven otherwise. I'm really curious to see how they match up with some of these teams down the road, especially as they face Morningside still, and I believe they still have to face Dordt. So those will be really interesting matchups to see where they're at.
Definitely ground game, especially when you talk about both those matchups. But Culver Stockton taking down Graceland was one that maybe jumped off the page a little bit to me. 28-21, definitely a competitive contest. Graceland, a team that we had talked about, probably one of the better passing attacks, especially inside of the conference. Coming into this season, maybe it has not fit the bill. 2-3 right now, and you kind of have it on here. A very back-loaded schedule. Grandview, William Penn, Baker, all of those teams in November for a team that's already seen the wrong side of 3 different games. This is, I don't know what the projected win total for this Graceland squad was in 2025, but to be 2-3 at this point, definitely not expected.
It's not ideal for them, especially because this was the year a lot of us expected Graceland to take a step closer to the teams like Grandview, with the way that we saw them produce on offense the year before, where they go, I believe, 7-4 off the top of my head, something similar to that, where they have one of their better seasons in recent memory and reload to the point where they look like they're going to be a contender in some capacity. And while, they started the season kind of in the top 25, around the top 25, a lot of people still look to them to take that step early on, and we haven't seen it yet. 2-3 is not ideal. You have to find a way to rebound and get wins, get your offense going again. And you can still prove yourself against Grandview and William Penn and Baker, but you definitely have to win 2 out of those 3 to be back in the conversation of, I guess, not even a playoff spot at this point with 3 losses, but certainly back in the top half of the conference where you'd like to be.
Yeah, that's actually a weird one, because it changes your motivation and your goal setting, right? Because that really is out of reach. So now how do you reevaluate and get these guys continue to be motivated to go out and prove something when a lot of that stuff is just beyond their control now because of how bad the first couple weeks of the season have gone? But how about this D-Dub squad, man?
Oh, yes,
33. I mean, again, say what you want about the the competition, whatever, like in terms of a marquee win for this squad, but 33-0. That's a good deal. And then of course the touchdown late makes it technically 33-7, but that's a big time confidence boost and a big win for your Tigers.
Yeah, got to give a shout out to my boys going down to Crete, Nebraska on an overnight trip and getting it done in a big way. Truthfully, the Dakota Wesleyan offense was as efficient as I've ever seen it this season. Okay. Jed Jensen throwing for 5 touchdowns, over 300 yards in his most efficient day of his career. Cole Holden brings in 2 touchdowns. A lot of big plays, a lot of broken tackles, broken plays that go for long touchdowns. Ultimately, just big plays that we haven't seen from Wesleyan yet this year. So, as somebody who had to be following that game, as somebody who works for the university, I appreciated their efforts.
Yes.
But truthfully, like getting a big win like that, they play Morningside this coming weekend. So we'll see how they can rebound and how a win like that can potentially snowball into something more. I don't know. We'll see. But got to shout out the Tigers there taking down the other Tigers, because real Tigers are blue, Kobe.
Yes.
Blue.
Yeah.
We all know this. So
sure. 17 punts in that game, Matt. You feel that one watching it?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's like a Hawkeyes game more than a Tigers
game. But
game,
my guy Sam Welsh had 4 pinned inside the 20-yard line, fishing from him as well. So love to see it. All 3 phases of the game, baby. That's what it's about.
One of them a 58-yarder on the day.
Yes, sir. That's how we do it.
It is huge, man. Yeah, a lot of different guys making an impact in the backfield too. Registering TFL sacks otherwise. So definitely a joint effort there. But that feels like all the big time stuff from NAIA ball this weekend, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.